What's going on? Hey, everybody. I am just going to adjust this music down. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome. Welcome to the chill stream. Smooth jams indeed, says Bob. And I tend to agree. Let's get this chat up here. So let me see, get this chat here so we can talk. How's everybody doing? We have got, of course, all the usual suspects in the chat. We've got Bob of the Knights of Last Call. Welcome, Bob. We, of course, have Amber Phoenix, Damian Williams, never once to miss a stream. We are apparently Mr. Williams' lucky charm, as we see fit. We also have Floyd Tang, Mr. Gwildor Stormcaller himself, Tim Carpenter, Master of the Arcane. London Matthews, brand new patron of the Knights of Last Call. Welcome, London. He's been making waves in the Discord, people. He's been making waves. We got Matthew. We got Walker. And, of course, we have our friend, the Stream Elements bot. Which reminds me, I need to go change that because the Stream Element bot is going to be sitting there trying to tell you about how to donate for hero points. But that's not this stream, is it? No, it's not. So let me change that. Okay, we got Kieran in here. Kieran, also a new member of the Knights of Last Call Discord. We got a lot of new folks. We got a lot of new members. It's been pretty freaking sweet, actually. There we go. Okay, we're good. All right, I had to change that off. All right, so we got some people still coming in, but what are we doing here tonight? Well, the truth is, we're just here to vibe. Enrique, welcome to Enrique. Floyd Tang is Vitamin B. Never mind, Vitamin B is also a member of our Patreon. This is basically like this is the cool kids Klaus, and But hey, listen, if you're not a member of the Patreon, that's cool. That's why you can come out here. You can hang out with us once or twice a week. We can chat it up here. Our patrons get to talk with us every day. It's pretty cool. Unless we want to start preloading that Wheel of Pain. We'll probably talk about the Wheel of Pain. we'll talk about what I liked. We'll talk about what I disliked. We'll talk about what I would like to do better and how I'd like to change it. We'll talk about the things that I think went over better than I could have ever possibly hoped and dreamed for them to be better for. So we got things to talk about. How's that music level? Is that still coming through? I don't want it to, overpower my voice, but we're floating tonight. Wheelgate is what I'm calling it. Wheelgate. Look, I've said many times before, I'll happily burn this channel to the ground in the pursuit of excellence. And if that means having to take on some experimental decisions, we'll face those consequences too. All right, cool. Sounds like the music's at a good level. Good. I don't want you not to be able to hear me or anything. But yeah, so tonight was supposed to be Primal level 2. But fact is, we've been pretty busy. Pretty busy with my 9 to 5. And I've been pretty busy with this thing called the Knights of Last Call. And not only do we have, of course, a very thriving and changing adventure path that we run on Tuesdays, Rise of the Rune Lords, but we also have an entire channel worth of content that we're trying to produce and a Discord of over 100 rabid fans who, quite frankly, deserve more. They deserve more. And we're trying to find ways to give it to them. So that's what I've been kind of stuck busy with. And so normally I do some prep work. I get all the spells copied. I kind of give them at least a good once over, so I at least understand, I'm not reading the spell for the first time in the middle of a session. And get everything ready in my little tier list thing so that we can just kind of address it. Didn't get a chance to do that. So I could have panicked and rushed, but so instead I was going to cancel. I was going to cancel the live stream. And I had some people reach out to me through some DMs, and they said, "Oh man, come on. I always look forward to this." And I said, "Well, okay." So no agenda, just hanging out. I didn't even want to put QA on there because I don't want to make it seem like we have any sort of agenda here. We're just here to talk and chill. We can talk about role-playing games. I mean, I'm assuming that's why a lot of people are here. Being that the name of this thumbnail, 1, came out real late, and 2, it basically said, "I have nothing to do, let's hang out." I don't expect we're going to get a lot of people in here tonight, and that's okay. We're just here to hang out. So, yeah, we can talk about role-playing games. That's why most of us are here. We can talk about other nerdy things. We can talk about Dune. We can talk about Star Trek. We can talk about woodworking. We could talk about a lot of things. It's hangout time. So, because I'm all business. I mean, not always business, but I mean, I'm always on the point, right? I'm always ranting about something, going off about something, doing something, illustrating my passion for the role-playing game genre. And this is an opportunity for us just to hang out. So, no agenda, just Melinda. That's really nice. So yeah, we can talk about board games. I like board games. Magic the Gathering. Again, role-playing games probably be what mostly we'll talk to. So, we'll go with that. Glad you hopped on the stream. Good improv experience. Yeah, also too, listen, this is a learning experience for me. That first time you step behind the GM screen, it's a very daunting task. And I'm pleased and happy to note that after over 25 years, closer to 30 years, if we're being honest, of running games, I feel pretty comfortable and confident about it. But on a random Tuesday, say while I'm running Rise of the Rune Lords live AP, I've got a Zoom call. I've got Foundry. I've got a chat. I've got OBS. I've got the actual game itself, the module, the monsters, the stats. Whew. It's a juggling act, I'll tell you. So we'll talk, we'll answer questions. We'll just kind of go back and forth. If you have questions, of course, ask them. I'll try to get through them. If you do decide that you want to throw a little tip our way, of course, you can go ahead and use the super chat available in YouTube. Appreciate that. But if you want to take that extra step, we have a link in the doobly-doo below, or you can type !tip. We'll give you the link to our Stream Elements tip page where we get 99.5% of all those tips. So your dollar goes further with Stream Elements. So, question, Phoenix Trinity asks, how good are you at math? I'm pretty good. My undergraduate degrees were in chemistry and computer science. And then I spent the last 15, 20 years in a data scientist, data analyst role. Linear algebra, partial derivatives, sorry. Those are, my wheelhouse. We start getting too much beyond that, I think I start to fall off. So much nice content lately. Yeah, we're trying. We really are trying. I mean, again, I have no agenda tonight, so I'm a big believer in value. Before this Knights thing started, which was never our intention to do anything like this, I started and failed at several businesses. And one of the reasons that happened was because I am a horrible business person. And part of the reason I'm a horrible business person is because it's my belief that I should be trying to give as much value to my customer as possible, even at my own expense, as it turns out. And I feel like they're the ones doing me a favor, not me doing them the favor. So one of the things that really bothers me is that I have so many ideas. The Discord has so many ideas. The Patreon itself has so many ideas. Some of the other Knights who work very closely with me have so many great ideas. But there's only so much content that we can push out, and I want to push out more of it. I really do. I really do. I love the Spells and Magic live stream. It's fun. But let's be honest with ourselves. We're going to be doing that for the next 20 weeks, at least. And I'm like, well, I want to keep doing that. I said I was going to do it. 1, 2, I think it's valuable. 3, you all make it fairly profitable. You guys have been very generous, which is great. But I also am like, well, there's other things I want to talk about. There's other videos that I want to make. I want to, get back to some of our old classic standbys, the combat and tactics videos, the night school videos. Now, I also understand that those videos in YouTube's world are nothing. They don't do anything. We get maybe a couple bucks for making one of those videos. And it could take me 10, 15, sometimes even 20 hours to make one of those videos. Between setting up the shoot, recording the footage, downloading the footage, editing the footage, and finally putting it up to YouTube. So it's a lot of work to make one of those videos, but we understand that it is valuable to our audience, and that's part of the reason why everyone has chosen to support us via our Patreon. So, but it's not just videos, right? You guys are crazy. And everyone's like, oh, Derek, NoNet's doing a Kickstarter. Do you guys think you would ever produce something? Well, I mean, that would be pretty awesome, right? But that's a lot of work. And I'm not going to just do some half-ass thing. No. We are going to put a lot of effort into that. So it's important to me that we get a lot of content out for everybody. And, I'm going to try to do the best that we possibly can. All right, moving down. And if I miss a question, by the way, if you do have a question, if you already asked one, that's fine, but it makes it easier. Put like big capital letters, question, exclamation point, space, and then your question. Just so that I can make sure I don't miss it in the chat, because there's 31 of you, so it shouldn't be too hard, but yes, we're doing Star Trek on Monday. Yes, Mr. Damian Williams here is running. I don't know what the term is. Is it game master, narrator? I'm not sure. A game of Star Trek adventures for a couple of us, and I'm very excited to play my young lieutenant, junior grade Adam Rilson, who is a young, techie, nerdy, kind of a Harry Kim, Wesley Crusher, socially awkward idealist, who is looking to make an impact in the world of Star Trek. It's going to be pretty fun. What is my opinion about metal dice versus plastic ones? I will never use metal dice. I would only ever use plastic dice. And, dice have become a fashion statement. But I dice for me are never about. I mean, there's like aesthetics is like the third or fourth thing on the list, honestly. Also, I've had the opportunity to play on some nice tables, some that I have made, some that others have bought for themselves, and I've also seen some tables get pretty messed up by some metal dice. I like big rolls. I like big throws. You know, don't wuss out on your dice throw. The gods of fate will know, and Gygax himself will come down and smite you. So I like, you know, I when I go to Vegas, which I hope to do here soon, I like to play craps. I like to, you know, really shoot the dice. If it was up to me, I could do that with D&D too, right? I love that moment. You know, as a game master, it's paradoxical, right? I've said this a million times. My favorite thing in a role-playing game is not knowing what's going to happen next. And that's the best part. And the dice are very important to me on that respect. So, yeah. Let's see. London asks, if I was designing my own game and additions were classes and archetypes, would your system be PF2 with D&D 4E archetype? I don't know. It's kind of my bend, honestly, over the last couple of years, honestly, especially too, as I've gotten really into Pathfinder 2, I have really taken a liking to games. I started calling them true role-playing games, right? These are games where the game itself is role-playing, right? Where the mechanics and the narrative are one and the same, where they inform each other. So, you know, games like Fate are very common in this regard. My problem is a lot of times these games tend to be mechanically very simple. I don't necessarily want a mechanically simple game. I like, you know, complex games with a lot, because I enjoy, you know, very complex board games. I like the game element of a puzzle to solve. But games like Pathfinder 2, D&D 4E, that puzzle to solve using mechanics, 99.9% of the time it's combat. It's just combat, it's just combat, it's just combat. And it's a fun puzzle to solve, sure. But there's a lot of other things that I think people should be doing in role-playing games. The reason I stay away from those and discourage those is because I think those areas of the game are boring, right? And rightfully so, because the game is focused on, I don't know, going on adventures, killing stuff, and taking their loot, okay? I mean, that's what the game's based around. So there's a reason why diplomacy checks in 5th edition or in 4th edition or in Pathfinder 2 are boring. There's a reason why for combat, you've got flanking and aid and ready and delay and initiative and 3 actions and stride and step and trigger reactions. And here's a 2-action power attack. Here's a 1-action strike. Here's my multiple attack penalty, but I'm using an agile weapon. But this weapon has deadly. And then diplomacy is make an impression and request. There's a reason for that. The reason is that area of the game is supposed to be like, let's get this over with in a couple minutes and let's get on to the good stuff. Fair. But what if you want more of that other stuff? Well, then your only option is to just ignore the game mechanics. And now we're just kind of talking at each other. I didn't want to do that. I sat down to play a game. I like mechanical interactions. I like mechanical complexity. I like those things helping me decide things. Some people will call this social combat, but that's not even necessarily what I mean either. I simply mean that the narrative and fiction and personality of a character in the game should talk with the mechanics of the game in a more robust and well-defined fashion. So that is what my game would look like. It has a lot of development problems because it was a very small publisher, but Legend of the Five Rings 5th edition, made by Fantasy Flight Games, now owned by Edge Studios, it does this pretty well. So, favorite RPG system outside of D&D Pathfinder? Historically, the answer has been Monster Hearts, which is a Powered by the Apocalypse game with 2 editions of the game, written by a fairly prolific indie RPG designer named Avery Alder, and it is about the messy lives of teenage monsters. So, you are a vampire or you are a werewolf in high school. But recently, Legend of the Five Rings has really gotten my my goat lately. I've been really impressed with the Forbidden Lands game. Again, there's things I would change about it as well. But they're doing things in a way that interests me mechanically, and I really like that. So Torn says, what are some hobbies? And by the way, if I answer your question and you need more follow-up, just throw another question in the chat, And what are some hobbies you'd like to try if given the opportunity? Years ago, I bought a sailboat, just a small, like 2-person sailboat, and I really, really got into it. I self-taught myself and learned to sail, and I really, really enjoyed that. And then my life kind of got turned upside down, and I was sort of not working for a period of years and living off Magic the Gathering cards and starting businesses, and it was a whole thing. And I haven't really gotten a chance to really embrace the sailing aspect, and I'd love to get a bigger sailboat, like a 30-footer, with a cabin, and maybe do some, longer cruising voyages. Maybe even eventually something that could go blue water and spend some time down in the Caribbean and sail around there. I think sailing is incredible. I think it's a marvelous pastime. But let's see, what else? I've also kind of, I spent 2018, I hiked the Appalachian Trail, and I unfortunately did not finish it. So I got about halfway before things happened, and my mom got sick, and I had to come home, and it was a whole thing. But I still spent close to 3 months in the woods hiking, and it was a lot of fun. And I think I would like to maybe try to get back into that hiking. After I came back, I had some foot problems from all the hiking, but I would love to go out west and really explore more of the national parks. I know that Matt Holloway of Knights of Last Call, he went out there last year, or maybe 2 years ago, maybe it was 2 years ago before the pandemic, but he spent some time in the desert Southwest hitting up like Arches National Park and Canyonlands and Bryce Canyon, and I'd love to go to Yosemite and Yellowstone and just see all these incredible, amazing places, and really get more into sort of spending time outdoors. Not very conducive to running a YouTube channel, but Walker says, woodworking, you say? My parents have been wanting a handmade flower box for quite some time, but I could barely put a nail through wood. How'd you get woodworking experience resources? I didn't. I had a photography business. COVID hit, and it just died. Right? People were not. I was shut down by the state, and there was nothing to be done about it. And photography was the last thing on people's minds, and I was really bored. And I had always sort of had somewhat of a passing interest in doing something with my hands, and I needed to build shelves for my garage. So I went out and I bought a miter saw, and I started making shelves. And I said, oh, that was kind of fun. I think I could get more into this. And I had some disposable income thanks to Magic the Gathering cards. So I ended up buying a table saw, watched hundreds of hours of YouTube videos. You can DM me on the Discord if you want some suggestions for mine. And I just started making small projects. And then finally, I'd only made smaller pieces of furniture. And then Bob, he said he was super excited because Wormwood was doing a Kickstarter for their tables. And before this, all of their tables were extremely boutique, many thousands of dollars, essentially handmade. And they were doing a big Kickstarter because they wanted to sell, and they were all like white glove, hand delivered, very, very boutique, very high end. But they basically said, hey, we're going to do a Kickstarter. We're going to make these tables that are basically shippable, that are sort of modular, that you can sort of build at home, kind of, we call it knockdown furniture. Not IKEA. I mean, these are solid wood tables, but made in a more factory manner at scale, which will allow the price to come down. And the Kickstarter was very, very successful. And Bob was really excited. He was going to spend several $1,000s to buy a maple table. Maple's a fine wood, but it's a cheaper wood. It's not considered a luxury wood. And long story short, Bob was like, this is ridiculous. It was going to cost me way more money than I ever thought. And I wasn't even going to get the table until like 2 or 3 years later. I said, Bob, we could probably make you a table. And so we did. I learned how to make a gaming table with the vault on the top, and you take away the panels, and inside is a area to play and hide stuff and do puzzles. And so that really upped my game, right? I had to really get good to learn to do that. And we ended up putting that whole beautiful table together out of solid black Eastern walnut for like $1,000 or like $900. So we saved him a ton of money, and he got the table like 3 months later, as opposed to 3 years later. So yeah. Paladin's Fury asks, question, if you could revamp the bard to make it more interesting, what would you do? Well, we talked a little bit about this. I would definitely change the way that their spells work. I think the occult spell list isn't very interesting to them. I would definitely figure out a way for them to play more with maybe the conditions. I want the bard to sort of be someone who can control and shape the battlefield. I also think they should be a little bit more martially inclined. I think making them basically a full caster was a mistake. I'm not trying to say like they should be like the magus or the summoner, but in my mind, the bard was always sort of a red mage who was, just as comfortable wielding a rapier and wearing, armor and getting into sword fights and being, and I know there's different muses that can sort of push you in that direction, but I don't really think it does it well enough. And so if you've ever played EverQuest and you've ever played EverQuest 1, I can't speak for EverQuest 2, but the bard in EverQuest 1 is a heavy armor wielding melee character who has these weird spells that don't really take up traditional slots or mana the way other spellcasters do, and they can kind of just keep their spells going, but they have to do it in a weird kind of structured way. And I'd like for bards to operate on an entirely different basis. So I think I would up their combat potential, and I might even drop the spell slot system for them, maybe even entirely, and really either expand the focus point system or the cantrip system in a way that is done well. Unlike the playtest of the Scion, which basically was a cantrip focus point caster, but I thought was done poorly. So, all right. Oh boy, we got a lot of questions here. Matthew says, hey Derek, I love the Wheel of Pain. My one suggestion would be to get the action going ASAP. The battle didn't start till 40 minutes in last time. Love it though. Well, there's more to role-playing games than just battles. Just saying. I think there's a couple of things that we want to improve there. I think we understand that when people are tipping for the Wheel of Pain, they want something bad to happen to the party members. But, we do need to strike a balance between what is going to be adding a challenge and making it more fun and dramatic, and, making it just so awful and horrible that the party has no chance but to live. And I also don't think that we want to get into it like a nuclear arms race, right? Where the effects of the Wheel of Pain are so bad that the party's going to die unless everybody in chat spends a bunch of money and gives them a bunch of hero points. And then the people spend more money so that we don't want to necessarily do that either. We still want to play at its core Pathfinder 2. I think one of the big mistakes that we made is, at the end of the day, these are just tips and donations. You're not buying necessarily a product with this, right? We're just trying to figure out a way to make it more fun. As for getting more into the action straight away, I mean, there's always a setup cost. This is only our second live stream this last week, episode 29. So there's still kind of like making sure everybody's on board and sort of doing your things. Even our players are still getting used to being live on the Zoom call with chat and Foundry. It's a lot of spinning plates. But I certainly want to get as much value as we can out of our live streams. But, at the end of the day, when we were recording live, we were lucky if we could get 1, maybe 2 episodes out a month. And under this new paradigm, we can easily get out 3 to 4. So, I think at the end of the day, we are happy with the amount that we're getting done here. And, if we can get through 2, combats take a long time in Pathfinder 2, especially if they take a long time at a table. I'm playing Pathfinder 2 tomorrow, Friday evening. And it's just a bunch of us sitting in our friend's basement. And it can still take us, an hour or more to run a combat in Pathfinder 2. And so I certainly respect the fact that when we are playing in something like a chat environment with tips coming in and all this other craziness going on and Wheel of Pain rolls and hero points being awarded, it is going to take us longer. So if I can get through 2 combats and some fun exploration and role playing and, letting the characters chew on the scenery a bit and sort of discuss things as a party and sort of weigh their options and make decisions and have the chat get to, be a part of that and enjoy that, I'll consider that. I'll consider that a success. I'd be very happy with that. Any relation to Seth Rogen? No, but I will take that as a compliment. No question from Dan. Kaz just saying hi. Evening, Steven. London says, I have a certificate in editing, just saying, hit me up if you're making content. It's funny, early on, I'm not a horrible editor, but, one of the nights was like, hey, can I help out? And I was like, yeah, I could really use your help editing. And he said, well, I don't know how to edit, but, I could maybe help pay for it. And I said, okay. And so he went to, like some editing people, and he said, hey, we have like an hour to 2 hours of footage. We have about 8 different cameras worth. So it's actually more like 16 to 24 hours of footage that needs to be edited and spliced into one single stream with graphics and overlays and stuff. And I think the editor quoted them at like $500 or something insane for the time that it would take for them to do that. And this was Tim. And Tim came back to me and said, well, my suggestion is you stop doing this channel and start just editing for people, because that's incredible. It's insane how expensive it is. And it's time consuming. It's a lot of work. The problem with YouTube is that if you make a video, and if I spend, let's say 8 hours making a video, and again, I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not blaming anybody here, but when I make a video, okay, I have, whether I'm here at home in my, in my home office, or whether I'm at my studio, I am balancing the lights. I am checking my white balance. I am checking my, exposure. I'm checking my background elements. I'm balancing my audio. I'm trying to produce something that I think has a certain level of aesthetic quality. Does that change the value of what someone's talking about? No, but it's important to me. And the same thing is true when I edit. I'm not just going to grab something from Shutterstock with a watermark across it and throw it onto a screen. I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to try to find an image that I pay for, that I try to make look good, that I try to balance across everything. So, and again, I'm not some, Casey Neistat. I'm not like Peter McKinnon or, Matty Hopoya or something like that. I'm not some, insane Mr. Beast, style YouTuber who has, a production staff that's like a full-time job. I'm just saying we try to make things that are nice. But here's the problem with YouTube. I can spend 8 to 10 hours doing that and make a video. Now, some people could spend 8 to 10 hours and they can make that video, and that video might get 100,000 views or 200,000 views, and make them $500 or $1,000 from that edit. That's amazing. That's incredible. Huge. Part of that has to do with who your audience is and what you're talking about. But in our case, we're lucky if we get 2,000 views. So, and that's over months total. So that means that, we might make $5 to $10 on a video that we might have spent, as a group, we all got together to film it, and then we have to edit it, and then we have to put it up. We may have spent 12 to 16 hours to make $10. It's a very bad rate of return. Now, the good news is doing all those videos and putting all that money into all that effort and time into making those videos enabled us to slowly build an audience that made us able to meet all of you fine folks. And allowed us to build this incredible and amazing Patreon. It's part of the reason why it's not just me blowing smoke up people's ass when I say this. This channel wouldn't exist without our Patreon. It just wouldn't. I mean, we make 10 times, 12 times as much money from our Patreon as we do from YouTube. So without, and YouTube, we have thousands and thousands, I mean, not thousands and thousands, but we're getting close to 4,000 subs. but the 121 people of our Patreon are literally 90+%, maybe even 95% plus of this channel's, you know, income and revenue. So when I say that the Patreons literally, you know, are the reason this channel is still around, that is not hyperbole. Delinquent. Haven't heard from Delinquent here in a while. Question. Any videos that you think you should do but don't want to do? 5th edition, if we're being honest. And we're hanging out here. We're vibing. We only got 31 people in the chat, so this is just between us. But you know, that's what people want. I mean, we're talking about Pathfinder 2. I'm enjoying the system. I'm digging into it. I'm getting crunchy with it. I'm running Rise of the Rune Lords. I'm playing in a game on Friday. Maybe we're going to do a 3rd game. I don't know. Quest for the Frozen Flame seems pretty sweet. But, man, the audience is just so huge for 5th edition. And it's hard to see. And here's the thing. I love D&D. I love D&D. I've been playing D&D since I was like 8 years old. I collect it. I buy it. And I don't think 5th edition is bad. You know, I don't think it's a bad edition. I don't agree with everything that they did with it. But it's just, you know, it doesn't grip me and grab me the same way. So a lot of my advice that I give is very system generic. Most of the things that we talk about in like night school and stuff are pretty generic. A lot of our earlier videos are fairly generic. But the fact is, people want that crunchy stuff, especially when it comes to 5th edition. They want to know which barbarian, what are the best subclasses for barbarian and warlock? They want to know what items from, you know, Tasha's Cauldron are the best. What are the top 10 best feats from, you know, D&D Beyond or whatever. And, you know, we get comments, we get questions, and we get stuff in YouTube about like, hey, I love that. I love you guys. You seem great. I don't play Pathfinder 2. Are you guys ever going to do 5th edition content? And I mean, it's not unrealistic to say that it's like, I don't know, 50 to 1 for, you know, I don't know, 40 to 1 for every, 5th edition player out there. There's probably like 1 or 2 Pathfinder players. So, you know, that's what the market is telling me I should do. But and I think we could do it, and I think we could do it well, and I think we could do it at our own pace. But it's not something that I am super excited about. Oh, okay, London, gotcha. Not that kind of editing. All right. Really waiting for another really waiting for another night school. You and Bob both. So let's real quick here. Let's talk about night school. It kind of flopped. Bob started this whole thing. This channel started because Bob's brother was in the military. Bob and his friends had been sort of nerd adjacent their whole life, playing, you know, video games like Diablo, playing a little bit of Magic the Gathering. And some of them had gotten into Critical Role, including Bob. And Bob and I have been friends, but we weren't like super close friends. And Bob knew that I was this D&D guru. And he said, hey, I really want to learn how to Dungeon Master. I think it'd be really fun to play with my friends. My brother is currently deployed in the Army, and I'd love to be able to play with him while he's away. And then when he gets back from the Army, we can all keep playing. And I think it'd be great. Can you teach me how to Dungeon Master? And I said, yeah, of course we can. And he goes, okay, well, actually, maybe it'd be cool if you could actually teach me and show me how to play D&D in person. That way I can learn from you by, you know, being a player. And we sat down, we made 5th edition characters, and we played the Sunless Citadel adventure. And it was a lot of fun, and we played it. And Bob said, wow, that was a lot cooler than I thought it was going to be. I'm having a lot of fun with this. Maybe we can turn this into a real full campaign. At the time, I was very, Pathfinder 2 is new, and I really wanted to dig into it. And I kind of said, hey, what about this game called Pathfinder 2? You like Magic the Gathering. This game is pretty complicated. It's got a lot of knobs and buttons and levers. And Bob said, sure. And then we were playing up at my photography studio, and we said, well, okay, well, why don't we just record it we're literally surrounded by lights and cameras. You know, Bob did like a very small podcast, audio only, but for his baseball hobby. And he said, yeah, we'll just do that, but we'll do it for the game. And that's how Knights of the Last Call began. So this whole thing started because Bob wanted to learn how to be a dungeon master or learn to be a game master. But we filmed those, we published them, and they did very poorly. So I don't know. I think the people who liked it really did like it, but the YouTube audience just really didn't seem to buy into it. And it just made me go, you know, we did the first one, and then I was like, okay, maybe that was a fluke. We'll do the second one. Also did poorly. So we're kind of like, weird. So I appreciate that. And a lot of people have said that they really enjoyed it. It's just a question of what do we need to produce that's really going to get to the most value for the people out there. So this is a question about metal dice versus plastic ones. I think I answered this before, but plastic dice all the way. They're quick, they're light, they're not going to damage anything. They're easier to read most of the time. I like high contrast dice. Anybody who, of course, is a member of the Patreon knows in the Discord, I have a whole tier ranking system that I use for dice. High contrast, high readability, beat everything else. In general, what about props and multiple fancy extras like minis, coins, etc.? I own a lot of minis. I own a lot of Dwarven Forge. I own not so much of the coins and stuff like that. I own a lot of accoutrement. I have like little magnets that are different colors that you can snap onto the bottom of bases. I like all that stuff, but it can take away from the game. You know, it can pull you out of sort of that theater of the mind, which is far stronger and more impactful than any Dwarven Forge or any Hero Forge mini. And so I find myself at odds sometimes, because sometimes I really love that sort of gamey look of a really cool battlefield with minis all over the place, and you've got the right minis. But then sometimes you also feel hamstrung by that. It can take up a lot of time at the table to pull out all of the exact right minis and all of the exact right Dwarven Forge. If the party wants to go left instead of going right, or they want to say, screw your dungeon, we want to go into the sewers or follow that person through town, you're like, I didn't plan for this. Now what am I going to do? Rebuild this whole thing? Everybody go take 5. So it can eat up a lot of time at the table. But generally speaking, I like little tactile things. When I'm playing a game like in Pathfinder, if you play at my table, hero points, I use poker chips, like real poker chips. And I like physically hand you a poker chip. And I say, here is your hero point. When you spend that hero point, I want you to physically hand me that poker chip back. I think having that tactile element is important in D&D. It's one of the reasons why I firmly believe in real physical dice, and not just people sit and real physical character sheets with pencil and paper, and not just, flicking your finger on a tablet or something like that. I think there is a importance to that physical element of the game. Comment. The Battle Zoo guys shout out your view. Also, some community people thought you were a bit harsh. Okay. I mean, number one, it's an opinion. Number 2, it's the most glowing review I've ever given. Number 3, look, I stick by what I said. There was not a big diversity of creature types in the book. I also think that constructs are very, what's the word I want to look to say? They're very easy to design for space. When you're thinking about making a monster, it's easy to make something a construct because you don't have to explain as much. Kind of the same thing with Fae, kind of the same thing with undead, and a lot of the monsters we said were Fae, undead, and constructs. And I do think there's a massive over-reliance on attack of opportunity as a reaction. So, I give it an A. So if the community thought I was being harsh because I didn't say it was A+, to be fair, Bob said it was A+, and Aaron said it was an A+ for 5th edition. So I guess I don't know what to say. Even if I love something, I'm gonna have critiques and criticisms of it. So I thought it was a fantastic book. Everyone should buy it. Is this the best book monster book for 5th edition of Pathfinder 2? Yes. I mean, I think that's pretty clear. Phoenix says, damn, love the combat texts. We love them too. And we can talk about this a little bit more, but part of the challenge, well, part of the greatness of this channel has always been that we as a group get together. And I understand that there's a lot of YouTube channels out there where it's just a person sitting in front of a camera and they're talking to you, you know, howdy, you know, or whatever the hell else anybody else does. So us having a group dynamic, I think, was a big deal for us because it felt different to us. It felt different, I think, to our audience. And Combat and Tactics kind of reflected that. You had real players there who did not, you know, I wasn't just talking to a camera. I was teaching people how to play. And that's important. But adding people, you know, adding multiple people to your thing and adding multiple cameras to your thing really increases the effort that has to go into making these. And especially with pandemic and all the other issues around it, like it's very hard to make one of those videos as opposed to just, you know, talking to a camera. So I thought I saw a question down below, or at least a comment. We've discussed, could we do it virtually, right? Using Foundry as a way to show different tactics and options. It's something to consider. For me, my number one goal is to get back into the studio as soon as possible. I'd love to get back into the studio live, pay a lot of money to get like a high quality, you know, gigabit Ethernet, wireless AT&T something or other, get some really sick, you know, streaming quality in there, set up our cameras there to go live. And that way we're in person, which is awesome. But we also have the energy, the excitement, the chaos, the uncertainty, and of course, the lack of a 10 to 12 hour editing process for our live streams. So, you know, I think that's where we would like to end up. But in the meantime, I agree with you. And I think Combat and Tactics, even though it is a loser for us, it is as in we will spend 10 plus hours making a Combat and Tactics video as is the traditional way, and then make $10 on it. Full stop. But our patrons are very important. Our community is very important. And that's definitely what we want to sort of embrace and see into. So Floyd asks, have I ever seen the show, read the books, The Expanse? It's pretty awesome sci-fi content. I haven't. I understand it's a pretty hard sci-fi. And hard sci-fi hasn't traditionally been my favorite genre. I liked Battlestar Galactica, which was probably about the hardest military sci-fi that I kind of enjoyed. But even then, the ending of that show broke my heart, so maybe never again. All right, we're talking about the dice here. Dirt says, question, what's your thoughts on the movie Heathers? I love it. It's a fantastic movie. It's iconic of that sort of early 90s noir tradition. Fantastic performances, of course, by Winona Ryder and Christian Slater. And it was a staple of weird, young, awkward, preteen, early teenager Derek's sort of weird, being a weird nerd in all honors classes and just wanting to be like, man, society doesn't understand me. So, you know, it resonated. Rubzilla. It's a good name. What are your opinions on home brewing magic in PF2 so that prepared casters only have to prepare their top level spells, but otherwise having access to all their lower level spells? Well, let me start by saying that not in Pathfinder 2, but in Pathfinder 1, I used to do that with my NPC casters quite often, particularly when these were like intelligent 24 archmages or liches, characters that were literally smarter than me. They live in this world. They understand what's going on. So me not preparing their spell slots and letting them fill them in as needed was sort of my way of mechanically representing just how smart these high level, high intelligence wizards are. The same way that a socially awkward person who can't even put two words together can roll really well on a diplomacy check. This really intelligent wizard, I get to feel like this really intelligent wizard and being prepared by having these things. And as an NPC, especially where I don't have the time to put all the time and effort into it, that a player character might have, I think that's pretty important. So in theory, I don't disagree with it. That being said, the game element of the game, I think a big part of the game side of the game is that strategy of choosing your spells, knowing what you're going up against, making those decisions, and living with the consequences. Could there or should there be, say, a skill feat maybe tied to Arcana that allows a sort of downtime or a 10-minute exploration action, and a character can swap out a spell slot or something like that? I mean, I think that would be totally acceptable and totally fine. But as written, I think in Pathfinder 2, and at least from a player character point of view, I think the strategy of a prepared caster being able to say, I have access to a far greater number of spells than a sorcerer would, but in order to really benefit from them, I do need to make good choices, especially because in Pathfinder 2, well, there are exceptions, of course, but some of the damaging spells pretty much become useless, but a level 1 fear spell can still be extremely valuable, even at the very highest levels of the game. If you're only fighting one foe, doesn't matter that it's level 1, that fear spell is still going to be, frighten 1, frighten 2, or frighten 3. So on a single target. So some of those lower level spell slots can actually be very impactful to Pathfinder 2, which is, I think, a testament to the strength of their spellcasting system. Question. Any experience with Starfinder? I have a player who loves sci-fi and wants to try it, but my gut tells me sci-fi is tougher than traditional fantasy. I understand that. So the answer is yes and no, in that I have flipped through and read the sort of the core rule book, but I've never actually played it. It is kind of more fantasy sci-fi. It's even more fantasy sci-fi than Star Wars is, right? It's very much like fantasy. It's like Golarion in space, and my general take on it though is I find that fantasy could be tough because how do you explain magic? How do what are we talking about here? But with technology, even if it's just technobabble and you're just making it up, I feel like people are more inclined to sort of explain it and try to give a rational explanation, even if it's all technobabble. Oh, I reversed the polarity on the door's energy conduits to send it into reverse mode so that it unlocks. And it's okay, that sounds reasonable. But with magic, it can be I don't know. I wiggle my fingers. Wingardium Leviosa. I don't know. It's magic. Who the hell knows? My Squeezing Arm says Starfinder is more space fantasy than sci-fi. Thank you, My Squeezing Arm. London says, so you're looking for a system where every part of role-playing is as exciting as combat, but not just a crappily tacked-on subsystem for social encounters. That is correct. That is correct. What are your thoughts on Traveler's narrative character building system as opposed to the system used in 5th edition or 2nd edition? I really like it. Life path systems, I think, are really, really fun. I think they are engaging. I like that there's an element of randomness in there, so you just can't end up with exactly the character, quote unquote, that you want. I think having to roll with the punches, whether it's during character creation or during the game, and having to go in a different direction than what you intended or that you want, I think those are important parts of role-playing games. And I think that too many GMs and too many players just want to be on the rails. And I don't mean that in a railroad sense. I mean, I kind of mean it on a railroad sense, but they're kind of this is my character, this is their arc, and that's not going to change. And if it changes, I'm going to be upset. I'm going to be irritated. And I think that is a horrible mistake. I think you should absolutely go with the flow. In fact, I think the skill of role-playing games is interpreting the chaos and the nonsense that gets generated because of so many random dice rolls and working as a group to turn that into something that is coherent and unexpected. That is the challenge. That is the fun of role-playing games. It is Mad Libs, but with, dice. So, and yeah, you're like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. Okay, let's take a step back. Let's make it make sense. And that creative endeavor of striving to make it make sense is where the game comes to life, where you take it from being just a board game and turn it into something else. But it's those dice and it's that randomness that makes it more than just an English collaborative writing class. I should just say a collaborative, like a screenwriter's class or something like that. If you were to take a script writing class. Question: Did you ever touch? I'm assuming about mixing systems. For example, Pathfinder 2E plus Fate. So the exploration mode runs on Fate, but the combat runs on Pathfinder 2nd Edition. You could do that. There is a quasi indie RPG called Strike, STRIKE exclamation point. That was written by a gentleman who was supposed to write a 2nd edition, and I've heard rumors that he is, but he had some health problems or something. But Strike is available on Drive-Thru RPG, and it is a game that has an extremely 4th edition inspired, robust, super tactical, very Final Fantasy Tactics, XCOM style grid, minis, push one, combat advantage, type minis game. And then the non-combat resolution system is very free-flowing and very narrative. I like that in theory, but in practice, I like the idea of everything kind of just talking the same talk. So I think that can work, but I do think you run into issues when some of those wires get crossed and it can get a bit wonky. So I have thought about it. I've done it in the past. I mean, I've definitely tacked elements from Fate or Blades in the Dark, into D20 based games. But certainly it doesn't solve all the problems. Phoenix question: Why don't you stream your combat and tactics? Don't need to interact with the chat, but I personally think it would be amazing. I thought I saw this question streaming when I was saying about it. We thought about that. One of the things that we wanted to say is, like, do we lose some of the magic of being in person? Listen, I love being online and being able to chat with you guys live. That's incredible. But it's not quite the same as when you're all in the same room and you're all kind of being, buddy and having that fun interaction. But beggars can't be choosers, and something is better than nothing. So I think that is probably the route we are going to go with, at least until we can get to a place where our studio and the environment mask mandates are coming down, and I think everybody's getting boosted, and I know that positivity rates are dropping, and COVID's something that we take very seriously, along with our commitment to doing the right thing. And so as that sort of changes and develops, it's certainly the case. I'll also say too, the channel has grown considerably. Everyone has been extremely generous with their donations and their tips. So again, thank you for any, tips or any of that stuff that you, sorry about that. I clicked on a button. That was our tip meter from our last time. But with your donations, the Patreon has grown incredibly well. And as we start to make some money with this thing, right, it becomes easier for us to say, hey, we are going to dedicate, especially for people. Everyone has a 9-to-5 job. I'm single. That's why I'm here with you on Thursdays. I'm single. I don't have kids. That is not true for the other members of the Knights of Last Call. So they all have families, and they get home from work, and the job just begins because these are young kids. But at a certain point, though, if we can start to say, hey, we're actually doing pretty well financially, well, then it becomes a lot easier to say, well, hey, we are going to dedicate and make this a part-time job and really get together and do that. So, but I would like to figure that out at least in some way, and get back to that. So, I'd like you to take a minute and stream it all. I'll tell you how I became. Oh, you're making fun of my last Prince of Bel-Air. Robert Kemp, keep asking. No, I'm not related to Seth Rogen. Mayonnaise, mustard, a nice good hard potato. I wouldn't use a russet. I would use like a red potato, something waxy, a little waxy potato. You don't want it to just mush apart. So waxy potato, like a golden or a red, skin it, boil it, get it into cubes. Well, cut it into cubes, then boil it, pull it out. Mayonnaise, mustard, maybe a little paprika, and I think you're probably good from there, right? Okay. Trying to move away here. Kieran says, video request, please do a how-to build a gaming table or convert a dining table into a gaming table. Definitely on my bucket list and need tips. It's no joke. I mean, to build Bob's $1,000 gaming table, I bought like, I don't know, $4,000 worth of tools. But I've made like 5 or 6 tables since then. So, and luckily for those other people, I did charge them money. So, actually fairly reasonable amount of money, actually. So, I made some good money. And the joke always was that every time I made a gaming table and made some profit, I just immediately went out and bought like brand new cameras or brand new microphones for the channel. So I didn't actually ever really make money for it. But, yeah, I mean, honestly, if I made a video table, a woodworking video about how to make a gaming table, it'd probably be the number one video of the channel ever. So, all right, going through here. Hopefully everybody's doing well. I'm trying to get caught up here. Again, if I missed something, I'm sorry. But if you really want to get my attention, hey, you can do that. You can drop me a super chat. And I will definitely call it out. Dirt Guyver. Thank you, Dirt. Appreciate you. Dirt is a loyal friend of the show. He is also the proprietor of my favorite local gaming store, Great Lakes Game Emporium, located in beautiful Mentor, Ohio. Open Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And Dirt's pretty much there every day. So Dirt and I talk a lot of shop. We talk a lot of role-playing games. We've played Magic together for many years, and it's an amazing store. It's definitely my home base and where I try to get most, if not all, of my products. In fact, actually, Dirt is currently in the process of ordering me a set of divine spell cards so that I can use them when I am playing my Halfling Cleric of Seren Ray in my Friday evening games of Pathfinder 2. Thank you, Dirt. Appreciate the super chat. I think that's our first super chat. So. Or, first tip. Well, thank you. Let's see. Question. Have you role-played much with women in the group? And if so, do you feel the game runs differently? If so, how? Not this current group, but, for a long time, we usually had various, folks would join the game, and their partner would join the game. I've played the game with my girlfriend had been in the game. Tim's girlfriend had been in the game, and even before that, we had some folks when we were in our 20s. We had a couple of women who joined the group in the game. Does it change the game? I mean, yes, but not in a bad way. Certainly, when we were younger, some of the guys would try to put on a little bit extra show in trying to show off. You're young guys. But I do think that this idea that women don't like combat or that women want to just role play all the time, I think that's nonsense. I mean, I think I've seen just as many bloodthirsty women who want to just kick ass and take names as any guy. I think that's a misnomer. And in my experience, it hasn't been true. I've also played with a ton of women at Gen Con and conventions. I mean, certainly if there's a lot of locker room talk at your game table, I mean, I think it's the same with anything. You just have to be respectful and know who the folks are and who they're welcoming to. And you have to know the people you're playing with, and you have to make sure that everybody understands any sort of boundaries or lines or veils or anything like that. Thank you, William Brandis, for the $10 tip. Talking about the Wheel of Cringe, naturally, Wheel of Critical Role. Aren't they the same thing? I mean, maybe. I think we do have Critical Role tonight. Thank you, William Brandis, for that $10 tip. William Brandis, of course, official Knight of Last Call. William Brandis, a.k.a. Aaron Smith, is sort of our main producer during our Adventure Paths, if you know him from the Discord. And he is a fixture there, moderator, and he is also my game master for this Friday evening game that I have been talking about. So appreciate him, and thank you for that. Very nice. So yeah. Question: have you ever played 10 Candles? If so, what do you think of it? I have not played 10 Candles. I have played a lot of games, but I have not played 10 Candles, so I do not have an opinion on it yet. Let me see if there is. Yeah, no. I haven't done it, but it wasn't any nominated game, and I really should. But I know it's a zero prep game, which I do like. Those kind of horror games. Horror isn't my main genre, although I do enjoy a good game of Dread. But you know, it's definitely. I think reading and exploring games is good, just so you can understand game mechanics better, so that you can kind of crack the code and sort of see the matrix of these games that we're playing. So definitely. But you know, it's on my list to check out. It is on my list to check out. Anthony says there needs to be a wheel of appeasement for forced role playing that the chat votes on. So, you know, this is talking about our actual play on Tuesday. What I think we're going to do is, there were a lot of people, including me, who really liked the forcing the group to have a role play challenge, and then the audience gets to vote on whether or not they felt that they fulfilled that role playing challenge or not. I thought that was fun and that was interactive. And I understand that there are people who feel like the Wheel of Pain should be the Wheel of Pain. And so what will end up probably happening is we will probably have two different ways that you can sort of tip. If you want to tip for bad stuff to happen because you want to up the stakes, increase the dramatic odds, or just twist the knife, you can donate to that Wheel of Pain, and we are going to give bad stuff. We still are going to include the audience. The audience might get to vote on what is the bad stuff, or who does the bad stuff happen to. It's because we really do like that community involvement. But if you're putting your money into that bucket, you want things to get worse. Respect that, understand that 100%. That being said, I think there is a lot of fun stuff we could do with some of these role-playing things, and probably shift it into a different medium or format as the chat tips in whole, whether it's going to hero points or whether it's going to, you know, Wheel of Pain spins. We will probably get to a point where something will pop up and a challenge will be given to one of the knights, and the audience will get to vote. Except the audience, if they vote in the positive, will probably give that knight a buff or a benefit. And if the audience says no, they will get, a punishment or a condition. Not as extreme as the Wheel of Pain, but still sort of a slap on the wrist. And I still want to. I thought that was a lot of fun, and I would like to see more of it. So yeah. Gabriel says the last game was very fun. Very, very fun. It was very, very, very chaotic. Puts me on my toes for sure. Brian asks, when is the next night school? I would lie to you if I told you when I knew when, but let me think about this. I'd like to, if we can do it online like this, if Bob and I can sit here and have a conversation virtually, I think we could probably get it done, sooner than later. And in the interest of getting content out there for our people and keeping our production costs low, because I mean, I don't think this looks, bad, right? I mean, this whole spiel that I have going on here. But again, Bob and I getting into a Zoom call, talking via camera, recording it, uploading it to YouTube, that's going to take me a couple hours max. But when we, have to go to the studio and set up the lights and set up all the other stuff, it could take us hours just to set up, just to film it. Cuts and takes and edit it, and I have to take all that footage and I have to edit it in Premiere Pro. And night schools aren't short. A lot of these YouTube people with their 12-minute, you have to be 11 minutes long so you can get a mid-roll ad. So they have like these 11-minute, 30-second, or 12-minute long videos. That is literally designed so that it is as short as possible so that they can run the maximum number of ads while doing the least amount of footage. Shooting and editing a 12 or 15-minute long video is way different than shooting and editing a 45-minute or 50, 60-minute video. It's not just, it's 4 times longer, so it takes 4 times as much work. It's even more than that. And longer videos, actually, our audience loves them. YouTube hates them, right? Because nobody wants to click on you who know us, you who respect us, you who love us, dare I say, respect us at least. You'll click on our 45-minute video because you are excited to hear what we have to say, and you're excited to disagree with us and tell us how vehemently tell us how wrong we are in the chat or in the Discord. But we have a problem at nights attracting new viewers because our information is very deep, it's very dense, it's very long, and it's hard for the casual member of the sort of YouTube community to just click on us. And so that can be frustrating at times. Bill is here. Thanks, Bill. I know it's probably late, but greetings to you as well. Kieran asks, well, thank you, Sarah. I appreciate you letting Kieran take a listen to this. It's very awesome for you and to do that, and this is very valuable to his growth as a game master and a player and as a human being. So thank you very much to Sarah Robbins for being such an understanding and benevolent, wonderful wife. Phoenix question: why don't you stream some of your other content such as combat and tactics? So this is a recurring theme that I'm hearing from you all. My concern, we'll talk here honestly, my concern has been we are a small channel, okay? Even compared to like fifth edition, it's like we're not even close. The people like the Dungeon Dudes and Dungeon Coach and Taking 20 and these other channels, I mean, they have 50,000, 60,000, 100,000 plus subs, 200,000, right? We don't even have 4,000 subs. And even within the Pathfinder 2 community, Nonat has close to 20,000 subs. He's the big dog. So we're small. And okay, that's one. And so that means that being live in person with $10,000 worth of audio-visual equipment on high-quality professional mics, using high-quality professional lighting setups in an environment specifically designed for the filming and playing of role-playing games, I always felt like was our competitive advantage. That's number one. Number two, I hold this channel and myself to a very high standard. I came to this channel from my prior business, which was photography and videography. I was a photographer. I was a videographer. So things like quality and consistency matter a lot to me. And, it's a joke. That was the theme of last Tuesday's stream, which was tip goal was buy Bob a camera. That's what popped up there for a hot second when I did this because I still had the bar from when Bob was doing that. By the way, here, I'll put it up. It's only $10, people. What was I saying? Oh, right. Right. The problem with this is that I want a very high quality of stream. And as part of the reason we had this tip is it was buy Bob a new camera. Why? Well, because when Bob comes to the studio, Bob is being recorded by a $1,300 camera. Right now, I am on like a $5,000 camera, like a $4,000 camera or something like that. The price has gone down since I bought the camera. The lights at my studio are like $1,500, $2,000 a piece. So for me, even doing the adventure path live from people's homes on Foundry was a tough sell. The group, you could thank the group that is even happening, because I was a kind of against it. And it took me a long time to come around to it, because I knew that the audio quality was going to go down. I knew that the video quality was going to go down. I knew that even if everybody had the greatest cameras, we were going to have to be using Zoom and sending it over the internet. And so all of those things combined to make me very unwilling, both because I felt like being live and in person with a high quality was somewhat of a sort of our competitive advantage to stand out in a field of RPG content creators, and two, my own personal perfectionism and desire to produce something that I, at the end of the day, felt comfortable with. I think that is so important to me. And that is why I have been hesitant to stream the other content, because I'm worried that it'll just make us seem like we are another stream, you know, and it easily forgettable, easily dismissible. And for me to be sitting there cringing and dying when, you know, somebody's white balance is off on their camera because they're using some cheap LED light, and you know, and it has a magenta or green shift or something like that, and we can't adjust it. All right. Oh, if you have any questions about photography or videography, you can also ask those here too. We can go into that. Matt Colville's number one advice for new YouTubers to make sure quality and presentation was the best you can make it. Definitely makes a huge difference. Right. And we are at what I like to call the point of maximum pain. By the way, if you want advice about YouTube or business, you can ask me that too. I'll tell you the truth. Why do I call this the point of maximum pain? Because if we had no subscribers and we had no patrons, then I wouldn't really feel one way or the other. I would just produce content whenever we saw fit. And if I went a month without producing anything, or 2 months, I would say, whatever, I don't care. You know, the channel's just, we've got like a couple hundred subs and no one cares. On the other hand, if we were some huge successful, channel, hey, Steven, focus on a few things and then do them well. Yes, don't half-ass 2 things, whole-ass 1 thing. But I want to thank you for the tip, but I do want to touch on that point, Steven, and thank you for that, by the way. I just realized that in our little tip thing, the things are backwards. That was a tip, not a super chat. So I have those flipped. I should fix that. Okay. Is that, so I'm just worried that, we won't have the same kind of impact, that we were having, if we sort of, get to that point. But that point of maximum pain, if we were bigger, well, then it's like, okay, look, we can afford to spend several $100s making a video, because we know that the video is going to go on and it's going to do, $5,000 worth of ad revenue and worth of income, right? We're not losing money. We are at the point where we have a fantastic and wonderful audience. And due to their generous, very generous contributions and their extremely humbling support, we are making a little bit of money with this channel. I mean, if you break it down to like a per hour, like the amount of hours I spend per week on the channel and how much money I'm taking home, I'm probably making, I don't know, $2 to $3 an hour, which is not a lot. I get that. It's not a lot. It's less than minimum wage, but it's not negative. And it used to be negative. I used to lose money every month to run this channel. I would put in 80 to 100 hours a month and lose hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So now we are making a couple $100 a month profit, and I'm still putting in hundreds of hours. So at this point, it's like, well, if I want to push this, and I want to produce more content that can maintains the quality, well, then I have to put more time in. And essentially it becomes, it goes from being like a 15 to 20 hour a week proposition to a 30 or 40 hour a week proposition. And if you're spending that much time on something, it's definitely hard to do that when you're only making $2 an hour. It's just not practical. So we want to maintain the quality, but I also want to produce more content, both for my own sake. I have things that I want to say, I have stuff that I want to get out there. The Knights, Bob and Aaron, Tim, they have things that they want to get out there. And that's okay, right? The Knights of Last Call is a spectrum of people. Obviously, I am the game master. I'm the people that you're familiar with the most. Someone like Matt and Nick, they are a big part of our adventure path. Escanor and Burl are, cornerstones of the group. But they're not as active on these, live streams or things like that. So there are different. Everybody has different responsibilities, and I'm great with that. There's a lot of avenues for people to contribute to this channel as a whole. So I want to make sure we explore those, but we don't lose our quality. Looking for things with questions. Anthony S says, do a poll in the chat. Who wants another night school? I think we'll see. You know what? I am going to put a poll up. How many people? We got some people in here. What's going on, everybody? I'm going to do a poll really quick. Can I extend what's going on here? Oh, I thought I could change. What the poll is. Never mind. I'm not doing a poll. I thought I could do multiple choice on the poll, but I guess I can't. All right. Here. Well, how about we'll do this? Wait, I'm typing this poll up. All right, here we go. Here comes the poll. All right. The poll go out? Maybe it's loading. I'll give it a second. Here we go. All right, we got a poll. So to be clear, if you're interested in seeing the Knights do more long-form content, that means things like the night schools, the combat and tactics. I'm talking about the 30, 40-minute conversations, right? The back and forth, the unscripted, no dialogue, right? It's more of a natural conversation. Vote yes. If you would rather see us focus on like the best cleric feats, what are the 10 magical items that every character in Pathfinder 2 should have? What are the best classes? We'll rank them S tier to F tier. Then vote no. And we'll let that run for a second. All right. And while that runs, we got 43 people in here, so I'm going to let that run until we get some good things. Everybody is praising me for video quality, and that means a lot to me. Thank you very much. More night schools. You guys are awesome. Question. When do you think you'll do a live stream of nights around a real table with real dice and real miniatures? Frank asking a good question. Okay, let's be honest with ourselves here. So that involves a lot of preparation, and it involves a lot of setup. In order to do that, I have to take my studio, which I already pay close to $1,000 a month for, and I have to get it's in a commercial space. So I have to get a commercial high-speed internet connection to that. It's about $200 a month. So I'm increasing my overhead by $200 a month. I then need to buy a roughly $1,500 piece of hardware, which will allow me to take all of the cameras, and it's basically like a capture card, but it's like a console, like it's a producer's console that allows me to hook 8 different cameras and audio sources into one that I can then stream into OBS so that people could see it. That's 2. And 3, and this part we actually kind of have figured out, we need folks who aren't going to be on camera who can help us run it. When I'm sitting at my computer and I am running Knights of Last Call live, I can run OBS, as I am doing right now, as I do during the last 2 episodes of Rise of the Rune Lords. But when it's live in person, I cannot have a computer screen in front of me. I cannot have a keyboard in front of me because I have my dice and my miniatures and we're playing that way. I can't be checking the camera and the angles, and I can't tell if the stream dies. So we do need some people, producers, who will come in when we play or when we go live, who will be sort of manning the booth, so to speak, and able to do that. Luckily, we have some friends of ours who have been really supportive of the channel. They are not on the channel, but they have agreed to sort of help us out in that direction. So that part is done. But that was me increasing my overhead. Now, before we went live and the audience completely destroyed us with how supportive and amazing and incredible they are with these insane donations from our first stream and then insane donations from our second stream, I wasn't sure if the AP was going to make any money. I didn't know if we were going to get 20 people in there, because historically, when we do an adventure path and we publish a 2.5-hour video to YouTube, we are very lucky if we make 1,000 views, which is in YouTube speak about $4 or $5. And at the time, I did not want to increase the sort of the channel's overhead by several $100s a month just so that we could go live and make $4 or $5. But so I was like, okay, well, we can do it. We can do sort of an A/B test here. We can go live remotely from home on our computers using Foundry, which has the advantage of being very simple and easy and cheap, and it keeps us remote and quarantined. Because all of us knights have very different sort of social bubbles, so it's nice that we can sort of stay safe in that respect. Well, that has worked very well, and as I said, the COVID seems to be once again trending in the right direction. So I would like to probably feel this out for another couple episodes to see where we're at, see how we're doing, and probably move in. I don't know, maybe in the springtime, maybe around April, May, if everything's looking good, feeling good. I'd love to get back in the studio, because God knows, Frank, I'm paying for this studio, Frank. I'm paying for it, okay? I'm paying $835 a month just for the rent. And then there's utilities and all this other stuff, okay? I have insurance. I'd like to use it, Frank. I would. I really would. I promise you. All right. Brett says that this channel is easily his favorite source for Pathfinder fix. Most actual play series fall flat for me. It's always a joy to watch you guys. Perfect mix of humor and crunch. And yeah, that's it. That is us. We're not here. You're not here for the award-winning acting, right? That is not our group. I personally, I would like to push Bob and Nick and Matt to lean in a little bit more. That doesn't mean voice acting, but lean into the playing of their character as more than just a collection of stats. And you will see. I mean, that's part of the life of being a game master, especially a game master who has a lot more experience than their players. And part of it is teaching them and showing them and guiding them towards what you want to see. All right, what do we got here on the poll? All right, end of the poll. Let's see what we got here. 92% of you said yes, with 39 of you voting. So pretty much the entire chat. Basically saying that you would rather have the long form content, the night schools, the combat and tactics. Well, I hope that you, 1, watch those shows, 2, tip and donate, 3, join our Patreon, because we will make those videos and YouTube will pay us nothing to make those videos. So the only way that we can afford to do that is with the continued support and growth of our Patreon. I know so many of you are already here, are already patrons, and I appreciate you 155,000%. So thank you so much. And I mean, those are pretty telling numbers in the poll, right? I mean, can't really, 92% is pretty high. So, all right, what else do we got here? I'm trying to go down. Again, I apologize if I miss a question. If you really want to make sure I see it, do that tip. If you had to pick any one TSR module to convert to Pathfinder 2, which would it be and why? Like TSR as in like pre-Wizards of the Coast? What would do well in PF2 that was TSR? I mean, one of my favorite adventure series from the TSR era was the second edition series of adventure. It was called the Sword of the Dales series. I don't remember exactly what it was, but there was a series of 3 adventures. It was called the Sword of the Dales, the Secrets of Spiderhaunt, and the Return of Randall Morn, which were 3 adventures set in and around the sort of Dale lands and the Moonsea, and had to deal with sort of the Zentarum and all that other stuff. It was a cool adventure that had some really fun, unique, exciting locations, some cool magical items, a little bit of political concepts to it, especially the 3rd one. And that was a AD&D 2nd edition adventure. Jesus. Combat Medic. You scared me with that tip for some odd reason. Well, you scared me with the amount. Combat Medic. Wow. Combat Medic Bush, one of the best names in the Patreon history. Thank you very much for your extremely generous tip. Very appreciative of Combat Medic Bush. A hero for our Discord, and our current top tipper. Thank you, Combat Medic Bush. It is very, very nice to get tips like that. Thank you very much. And hopefully we can make it all worth it, because we are going to continue to produce amazing and crazy content. We are working on an incredible community game. If you're not aware of this already, if you're not a member of our Patreon, we are basically going to try to run a Knights of Last Call version Pathfinder 2 Western Marches MMO multi-GM mega game that is communal, that is overseen live, real-time, interactive, changeable, updatable world. It's going to be kind of crazy. We have a maxed out Forge server with I think we're up to 5 licenses on our Forge server now. So we may even just get a second server license. But we can now run 5, we can now run through Knights of Last Call Discord. We can run 5 community games simultaneously. The hell? You guys are crazy. All right. Thank you again, Combat Medic Bush. Awesome. Ian Ryder suspects that Night School didn't take off because the PF2 crowd is mostly already fairly experienced with TTRPGs and don't feel the need to learn. 5e, on the other hand, is a constant entry point for new players. You know, Ian Ryder, that is true. But one of the things that we learned with Combat and Tactics is that there was a lot of people who've been playing Pathfinder 2 who don't know the rules. It's a very complex game. And we were playing Pathfinder 2 last Friday with several members of the Knights of Last Call. People have been playing for several years. And I made the point out that if you try to target somebody, let's say with a heal spell on your team, and they, have concealment, you have to make a check. If you try to fear somebody, which is a will save, it's not an attack roll, but it is targeting. If they are concealed, if they are hidden, you have to make a flat check, DC 11 or DC 5 if they're concealed. And everyone was like, whoa, really? I was like, yeah. It is it's pretty crazy. So I do agree with you to a certain extent. I think Pathfinder 2 does attract a more sophisticated game audience, but I still think that there's a lot of people who are still maybe new, coming from 5th edition. We do, if Pathfinder 5th edition is so huge that just the people who just choose to leave it are larger than the current audience of Pathfinder 2 players. So, we do need to figure out a way to reach them. I'm skipping down here, but Sean's probably right. Night School may not have been as popular since many people do not want to take the GM role. Sean, this is a great example of where it's all about audience segmentation, right? We're targeting Pathfinder 2 people, which is a niche audience in the RPG market. Well, GMs are also a niche market in the RPG audience, right? 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 6 players is as a GM. So you're talking about taking who might be interested in cutting it in half. Or cutting it in 6. And quite frankly, it's weird to me that people don't want to be a GM, but apparently there's quite a few people who are very passive about their role-playing games, which is just very strange to me because, right, I'm so active and I'm so engaged with them. So the idea that some people treat role-playing games like turn on a TV show or going to the movie just to, you're like, oh, I don't know anything about this movie. I didn't watch the trailer. I don't know anything about this intellectual property. It's just, people are going to the movies. I'll go to the movies. it's weird for me to think about people, you know, for me, role-playing games is a lifestyle. It's not just something I do. So, question. Looking for questions. If you could run another niche game for the channel, what would it be? I mean, it would probably be some kind of very character-focused game, you know, with minimal combat. That doesn't mean no dice rolls. Okay? I am not knocking Critical Role. They are the GOAT. But if I ever have a session that goes 3 hours and there is like 4 dice rolls, I am doing something wrong. I am bored. I want people to have to be thinking. I want people to have to be under pressure and dice to do that. I don't, you know, I came here for tough decisions, you know? So what would I play? I mean, something like Fate. I love Blades in the Dark. Grim, RG. I love Blades in the Dark. I've run Blades in the Dark. I've run Scum and Villainy. I love both of those versions of the game. Maybe we play like a Band of Blades game, which I own, but I haven't actually read yet, even though I understand the basics of the rules. As sort of just another variant of that Forged in the Dark system. I love Legend of the Five Rings. I've been talking about this. I love it a lot. Honestly, I would be a little concerned about Legend of the Five Rings, because even Legend of the Five Rings talks about in detail in their books, hey, this is a very Asian influenced game with a lot of real world cultures, notably Japanese, Chinese, and Korean, with elements of Mongolian culture that are part of it. And I am an American white guy, and I don't always necessarily know all of the context for those cultures. And while they are always respected, in fact, I would dare say we are learning a lot about them by playing the game at our home table, I also understand that, you know, I know exactly who's my audience and everything like that. So if I do say something offensive inadvertently, you know, that would be my biggest concern about doing something like Legend of the Five Rings game, for sure. But I do really love that game. You know, I think almost all of my group has like bought books on Bushido and samurai culture and Japanese history to just sort of really try to like lean into the game and sort of really grok what it is trying to do, and really try to, really get the marrow out of the role-playing experience, which is, what would it be like to have to deal with these kind of societal and personal pressures in a world where you are facing challenges that no person could reasonably expect to be able to hold standards to, and yet you're still expected to hold yourself to these insane standards. Matthew found my pronunciation of Iomade offensive. Tell me if I got it right. Amber Phoenix asks, are you familiar with the Bard feat harmonize? It basically means a moderate bard can twist. I do know it. And yes, that is exactly twisting. And that is really awesome. Again, I'm just sorry if I'm ignoring your question here. Question, have you ever thought about making a new game world for PF2E rather than using Golarion? I think that would be cool to do something other than Golarion, because it is pretty well, I don't know if this was a deliberate marketing thing on Paizo's behalf, but Golarion is pretty well baked into the Pathfinder 2 game engine. And I would love to see what is possible under the OGL to sort of say, yeah, Paizo. Yeah, it's Paizo. I didn't say Paizo. I said Paizo. I know how to say Paizo. So Paizo, they, I don't know if they did this on purpose, but they've really integrated Golarion well into their Pathfinder 2 system. And it is kind of hard. It's kind of challenging to pull it out. We thought about doing like unique deities for our Northern Reaches mega game, which is Pathfinder 2 based, but we're kind of like, it doesn't really feel like it's really a Golarion game. And we want to sort of reset certain baseline expectations about what is available and what the level of sort of the cultural level of thing is. And it was kind of like, oh man, creating a whole new deity list is kind of tough in this game, and there's a lot of archetypes and backgrounds and feats even that are sort of magical items that are really tied into the lore of Golarion. Yeah. People are talking about Paizio. That's That's William Brandis, aka Aaron Smith. So that is William Brandis in the chat, in the Discord. Aaron Smith, my good friend, who says Paisio. That is not me. I didn't say he didn't mispronounce it. I just said I don't mispronounce it. Damien asks, have you ever played a character of another gender? I know a lot of guys are weird about that, and I don't get it. I have. Recently, I have. I've actually recently read some articles on Reddit and Twitter that suggest that maybe that isn't the appropriate, because you don't want to make any sort of presumptions about their experiences and their realities. But I have played. In fact, one of my favorite characters of all time was Amanda Penelope Starkweather. She was a vampire from a Monster Hearts game, and Amanda Penelope Starkweather was she was a queen. She was a badass. She had lots of flaws and lots of strengths, and she dealt with a lot of issues being a immortal teenage vampire in a sort of traditional teen high school setting, and it was a very interesting experience. Similarly, Damien, I'm the dungeon master, so I have played a ton of women. Just even in this adventure path for Rise of the Rune Lords. Amiko, Shalelu, all female, and I think it's fine. Believe it or not, I kind of just play them like everybody else, and it actually is totally fine. Question: consider playing without the proficiency without level variant rule. Do you have any experience with it? Thoughts? I'm interested by it. I think you have to do a lot more work than the GMG would otherwise have you believe that you have to do, because there are a lot of things that break subtly. Like there are certain things in the game that have static DCs. Like just off the top of my head, like the Frost Rune, right? It has to make them make a fort save or they become slowed. Well, that static DC is busted if you are using proficiency without level variant. It does make your game become a lot more like 5th edition in that you can use a wider range of monsters because the creature's ACs aren't so high or so low that you are just able to deal with them. And thus action economy becomes a much more important concept of the game. Hit points become more of the de facto way that you sort of defend yourself. That being said, you still have like striking runes, and it definitely makes things like bonuses that you get a little bit more impactful. And it actually might be a way for a character who puts together the right combination of item bonuses, status bonuses, and circumstance bonuses, along with circumstance and status penalties, to be able to take on a higher level foe by sort of using your resources and coming up with a good plan than you could ordinarily do in the traditional Pathfinder 2 structure. I am intrigued by it. I think you would have to change some of the core nature of the game, though. Proficiency without level variant rule, to me, is a more grittier game. It's a sword and sandals type game, sword and sorcery type game, more Conan than DCU or MCU, which is kind of what the core Pathfinder 2 experience is like, in my opinion. All right, people, we already saw the vote, but Henry is throwing in his vote for Night School Combat and Tactics. Nobody minds the fantasy. Do an hour video, slice it in 12 megaseconds to create a player list. Dead meat, we are going to try to do that. That's exactly on. In fact, on our Knights of Last Call Trello project board, one of the things that I have to do is to take my last GM Q&A. The patrons came in and they helped kind of figure out what some of the nuggets of good content were that we could maybe splice out and put up as a short form introduction to people who don't want to watch a 3-hour Q&A with yours truly, but will watch a quick 7-minute video about a very specific topic with me giving my thoughts and answers. Because look, you're either going to watch me and say, wow, this guy knows a lot about what he's talking about. I'm picking up what he's putting down. Or you're going to think I'm an idiot and that I'm wrong about everything. Either way, you should join the Discord. But we've had people like subbed because they said, you're so wrong. I feel the need to sub so that I can make sure I'm here to see what you say so I can counteract you. Dead Meat watches one guy who streams a game for like 5 hours on Twitch and then splits into 50-minute segments and releases it on YouTube all the week. Much more watchable that way. Dead Meat, I think you got it exactly right. All right. Looking for questions. Create shorts, says Far. Create shorts of the long form content to intro the nice new people. Yeah. In fact, YouTube every day, my dogs are fighting. Every day, YouTube is like, you should do shorts. You should do shorts. So let me tell you this. If I do shorts, there's an option which says don't send shorts to your sub feed. I'm not going to fill anybody's sub feed or home feed with shorts. But for people who do not know us and do not know the nature of our content, it is a good way for us to very quickly, at a very low price point, get introduced to people who can then, maybe become a subscriber of the channel and maybe a patron and have an opportunity to find us. But I do not, in theory, I hate the short format. I hate TikTok and Reels, and oh my God, they're going crazy. All right. I had to close the door there. I'm not going to fill your shorts. No, I'm not going to fill your feed with shorts because I think shorts are kind of stupid. All right. Yes, we let the dogs express themselves freely, and they like to wrestle a little bit. Let's see, more questions. I think we're getting caught up. Denny the Many asked, you didn't put question, Denny, but do you have the video switcher you need picked out? I do. It is called, hold on a second here. And now they actually just came in here. The dogs came in here. They said, oh. All right. This, I'm going to act like I know what I'm doing here. There we go. This is what we need. This is the ATEM Mini Pro Extreme. Here we go. This is what we need. This is going to allow us to do 8 inputs of 8 cameras, HDMI at 1080p, 60 FPS, and allow us to quickly, easily switch between that. So that's the video switcher that we need to do what we want to do. All right. Moving on. Glad you found a way to monetize the AP. Classic issue with YouTube's KPIs. Not every view has the same value. Very true. Very, very true. Hey, somebody just subscribed. Who is it? It's Weirwill. That's fair. Thank you for subscribing. Stream Elements thanked you for me. Thank you. Gabriel says that they are enjoying the podcast. We love to do the podcast. Now I'll say this. We make no money on the podcast. It's not even monetized. We would love to monetize it, but they just won't let us monetize it. So, but that is very low effort. Steven Feldman with the super chat. Turn it into football. Be like John Madden in the replay booth with Brandis' color commentary. Steven, we have talked about this, Steve. Originally, I was going to have Tim, before he joined the Knights of Last Call, who I've gamed with Tim for 20 years, or 15 years at least, and Aaron with Brandis in there, and I was going to have them rewatch the footage of the Knights playing and basically do sort of a color commentary. It is awesome. It would be a lot of fun. I think it would be a lot of. I think it'd be successful. It is a lot of work. You got to do a lot of editing. I got to really give credit and props to those folks over there like ESPN and Sports Center who are able to just take these really long football games and then very quickly cut it up, find the best moments, get it ready. They write the script for the commenter to talk about it. Like it's very impressive. But I do think that would be, I think that would be a lot of fun. Let's see. Baxman asks, how's it going? It's going good. It's been a little stressful. Since the holidays, I've been pretty busy at work, and the channel has just taken off incredibly. We have added, I think we've like doubled the size of our Patreon twice in the last like 2.5 months. So we had like 30 or so people like around Thanksgiving, and then by the end of December, we were getting close to like 60 or 70, and now I think we're at 120. So, there's those growing pains. So, but it's been good. It's been really good. The community has been really supportive, and I'm really looking forward to, implementing some of these fun community games and getting more involved with everybody. I'm glad that you did find the channel. I'm glad that you are enjoying our content. Keep up the good work. Will do. Will do. Have you ever heard of the plot twist cards that Paizo puts out? If so, what are your thoughts on the decks and gimmicks like that which allow players to impact the story directly? Well, Delinquent, I do know those plot twist cards. I think I have them around here somewhere. I don't know exactly where they are. I am all about giving the players narrative control. Hero points, my hero points are sort of a way of narrative control because the players can affect the D20 roll, which is their way of turning a failure into a success, as a way of them saying, I want this to be true. But some of my favorite games involve the players being able to use some form of currency in order to change the game. And as long as it doesn't go against an already established truth, like if we have established that, this guard doesn't like tomatoes, we all need to agree to that, and we are going to play along with that. But if you want to come in and say you went to high school with this guard's brother because you were pulling something out of a deck of cards, or because you're spending some sort of fate point, or hell, because you made a society check and you go, oh yeah, I went to high school with Greg. What, you went to high school with Greg? Yeah, we were on the same basketball team together. I think that's amazing. The more my players take the reins and make the story their own, 100%. I love that stuff. Damien knew I was going to say Monster Hearts. All right. Steven says now, I have, in the last 20 years, played only a handful of MMOs. World of Warcraft being one of them, and I played it twice. I played it when it first came out into Burning Crusade, and then I stopped playing, and I didn't play Wrath of the Lich King, and then I came back in Cataclysm, and I played into Pandaria, and then I canceled my account, and I have not played since, so I played that twice. In those 20 years, I have re-signed up for and played EverQuest 1, I think, 3 or 4 times. I never play for more than like a month or so before I just kind of get bored and I end my subscription again, but I will always have a soft spot in my heart for EverQuest 1, and they're still releasing new expansions for that, believe it or not. It's crazy. Ryan asks, I mentioned pushing my characters to roleplay more, with quotes. How would you encourage this behavior? I find my players are very passive and don't try and tell a story. You got to encourage them mechanically. You have to. It's a game, right? Why do people in football want to throw the ball and crash into each other? Because they want to get points so they can win the game. Why do people pay attention and try to do fight in combat? Well, because they know they're going to get experience. They know that they are going to not die. They know that they're going to continue to keep playing the game. Same thing's true with role-playing. I think role-playing is the game. It's not called combat playing game. It's called role-playing game. And role-playing game does not mean, Kermit the Frog, you're coming to you live from YouTube. That's not, speaking like Kermit isn't role-playing. But if I wanted to get into the psyche of Kermit the Frog and I wanted to play out actions and have to deal with situations, difficult situations, tough situations like Kermit the Frog, well, then we would have, that's a role-playing game. That's what we're doing. So how do I do that? We encourage people. Anything that you want to have happen in your game system, you have to find a way to encourage mechanically, rewards. Tie it to advancement. Tie it to experience. Tie it to hero points. Tie it to treasure, magical items. I don't know. Whatever it is that your game is about, you need to reinforce those behaviors. So yeah. Doggos. I love doggos. Cipher System's really cool. I love Numenera. Actually, William Brandis currently still has my copy of Numenera, which I kickstarted, which seems like it's crazy that like Numenera Kickstarter was like 2015 or something. It was so long ago. Question from Marcos. What product of RPG do you like to see more? My favorite thing from role-playing games are, I don't want to see more classes. I don't want to see more monsters. I don't want to see more adventures. And I don't want to see more books of pointless feats. I like products that expand the way that the game could be played. I thought the Game Master Guide for Pathfinder 2 was excellent. It had a lot of subsystems and variant ways to play the game. And that's what I want to see. I want to see different ways to play the game, not just here's more of the same. Here's more classes. Here's more monsters. I already have monsters. I already have classes. Give me something I don't have. Give me a way to do something, you know? Hey, Ben is here. Ben, thank you. Hey, I'm sorry we're late. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about everything, Ben. We're just kind of hanging out. But right now we're talking about what do I want to see more products from role-playing games. I want to see things that make my job as a game master easier. I want to see things that give me inspiration. I have a link below in the doobly-doo to the Tome of Adventure Design. And there's also a new one out called, I think it's called the GME Mythic Emulator. Chat will correct me on that. But these are idea generators. These are inspiration engines. And those help me either prep a session or brainstorm an idea or even in the middle of a game. That is going to help me be a game master. Getting my 9th book of monsters. Look, I liked Battles of Bestiary a lot. I thought the monsters designs were very good and very clever, but you know, and I think you should pick it up, but you know, it's another 100 monsters. How many do we have? Like 600, 700, 800? How many you could run a million campaigns with the monsters that you have already. So, you know, I would like to see more things like the variant rules in the Game Mastery Guide, more ways to push the game, expand different areas, create new ways of expanding and playing the game, create different ideas for downtime, different ideas for exploration, new ways to approach combat. Just, you know, change it. And I should note here, Ben got it here, the Mythic GM Emulator, aka the GME. So that's the name. This is a book I did not, this book flew under the radar for me. I didn't know this book. And so I had to go out and order this book because the Discord, the Patreon brought it to my attention as being incredible. So, you know, we're all making each other spend a lot more money over there in the Discord because we're finding out about new products that we had not really learned about. JX Lim asked, how do you balance them being able to crit on demand, basically considering the relatively low hit points of bosses? Well, I never fudge. Ever. So I don't have to. With the hero points that they have that are very powerful. Now, they used to be extremely rare. And then we had a crazy first session of live where everybody donated way too much money. I said that wrong. Continue to donate money. But, you know, the chat was very generous and the party ended up with like 6 or 7 hero points, which is a lot. And luckily, the chat this week, you know, donated a ton of money to the Wheel of Pain, and now a lot of the knights are actually out of hero points because they got AoE Frightened 2 twice, no save, AoE Stunned 1, no save. The boss went from 240 hit points down to 9, all the way back up to 240 hit points. I got to cast a 7, basically a level 6 wall of fire, no save across the entire battlefield, placing it randomly so that it hit every single player. So it was, you know, crazy. But it is powerful. And I do it because, look, like, I want the players to win. I just don't want to have to, like, cheat to make sure that they do it. If the players are playing well, making good decisions, earning hero points by being heroic and accomplishing goals, then I want them to have those hero points so that they can go into those situations and kind of pull it out and be heroes. You know, we are trying to emulate genre here. It's Rise of the Rune Lords, a heroic quest to defeat, you know, a fallen Rune Lord. Hey, Vin is here. Not totally true. Might be a good spot to discuss hit point design values for custom monsters and bosses of PF2E. I mean, that is a valid point. I don't like the way that bosses are designed in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I have gone on statements saying that I think that the way that 4th Edition D&D did it was a lot better, which is I think that taking a monster that is designed in theory, if the party is the same level as it, right, it's just one monster. It's just there to be fought with a couple monsters that are just like it. But if the party's a couple levels lower, it could be a boss monster. But nothing about the monster changes. You don't change its stats. You don't change its hit points. You don't change its abilities. The only thing that happens is that because of the level being added to proficiency and because of the scaling DCs, that monster, you might need like a 15 to hit it or a 16 to hit it. Or it saves against your effects with a 6 or higher. And so it only fails to save on a 5 or lower. So what ends up happening, it means that the party, which outnumbers this monster, is basically just fighting a normal monster out of the book. And the only reason the monster doesn't get completely destroyed is because its defenses are so high and its attack rolls are so high that a lot of the players' attacks just have, miss. Secondary attack has almost no chance of hitting. And the boss himself or itself is going to hit pretty much guaranteed and has a very high chance of critting, thus getting to a point of balance. Now, do I think that Pathfinder 2 and Paizo accomplished this? Yes, I think they did. I think they did design it well, and I think it does work. That being said, I don't know that it is the way I would design it. And if I had to redesign it, would I design it differently? And the answer is yes. I think that a monster design, regardless of the stats, and if you've ever played 5th edition, you know that this is true, that action economy is everything. And if you look at the monster design and the evolution of monster design in 5th edition, if you go back to Monster Manual 1 versus, let's say, Volo's Guide to Monsters or Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes or anything that has come later and later, you have seen them rely ever increasingly on things like legendary resistance, legendary actions, lair actions, etc., etc. Because no matter how powerful you make the boss, no matter how high you make its stats, if the boss gets one spot to go in the initiative and you have 4 or 5 other PCs, with pets and summons and all this other stuff, it's going to feel stale because the boss is, it's not real. It's supposed to be real time, but it's not real time. It's turn-based combat. So it's like the boss has this big turn, and then it's like the boss is just standing there. It's just not doing anything. And all the players are just throwing and strikes and throwing spells, and most of them are missing, and it's just like, it's like you're just flinging paper airplanes at the boss, hoping one hits it in the eye. It works. The math works. I just don't know that it is fun in a way that I want it to be fun. And, one and self-confessed cynic said, and I would design bonuses. I know that they usually have more hit points, but a medium to low AC. That is very true. And to be fair, that is in a way kind of 5th edition-esque, because in 5th edition, the ACs don't really go that high. So the way that they balance the monsters is by giving them a lot of hit points. To use a case in point, in 4th edition D&D, there were types of monsters that were called solo monsters. Now, they had a level, and you didn't have to do any math. For example, if the party was level 10 and you wanted to challenge them with just one monster, you could throw 5 level 10, or, if there are 4 party members, you could throw 4 level 10 monsters at the party. Or you could throw 1 level 10 solo. And that monster stats were still based around level 10 characters, but it had abilities, it had stats, notably like 4 or 5 times as many hit points as a normal level 10 monster. So if a level 10 monster had 150 hit points, a level 10 solo monster might have 600 or 700 hit points. But it didn't have an AC where the players needed to roll an 18 to hit it. But it wasn't just a hit point bank. It also had a variety of actions and reactions and things that it could do. In some instances, in my opinion, even going multiple times per turn to give that sense of dynamics that is otherwise missing. And I find it is more engaging as a hero, as a player at the table to, see my attacks hit, to see my spells land. And I get it. If you just do that straight up, carte blanche, the game breaks because these monsters get debuffed into oblivion and then they just get, raffle stomped. Okay. I get it. I do understand that. It is a fundamental design issue that I would have to go back. My take of it is within the limits as prescribed to me by the GMG, I tend to push the creatures' ACs lower and I tend to increase their attacks or their hit points. So that way the players don't feel like they're shooting blanks the whole fight. I think high AC bosses only further exacerbate the quote unquote fighter problem. I'm not saying that there's a fighter problem. I've just started to hear this drift around the interwebs because now the fighter's that much better because if like everybody else needs like an 18 to hit this monster, the fighter hits on a, 16. And so the fighter's hitting on 5 numbers. Everybody else is hitting on 3 numbers. The fighter almost has to double the chance to hit that another character has, like double. Because they have like a 15% chance and the fighter has a 25% chance of hitting. So it's literally, almost double. So yeah, it's kind of problem. And Ben says it's like a type of bounded accuracy. I understand why they did what they did with Pathfinder 2. They might have gone too far with it. I don't necessarily say that I think bounded accuracy is a bad thing. I kind of like in 5th edition that a high-level party can probably kick the ass of, a bunch of orcs. But I like that the orc isn't just like a joke, right? Like in Pathfinder 2, like once you're a couple levels past a creature, it's just a joke. It's just not even a threat. I don't necessarily know that I love that. I wish that range was a little bit broader and smoother of a transition. Ken, as a rule of thumb, I never do that. In fact, if there were design flaws in 4th edition, this was not the perfect game. This game was not perfect. And one of the design problems with it is they had a type of monster in there called a soldier monster, which is a cool concept. But the idea is high armor class, high hit points. It doesn't do a lot of damage because it's like, got a shield and a little spear or a little short sword. And it's just really not fun to fight against, not fun to play against. So, yeah, I think if I were to ever, start to do a deconstruction of various Pathfinder 2 ideas, I think the monster design and how I would approach that would be very different. I think that the standard model of Pathfinder 2 of here's a boss monster, it goes once, it gets 3 actions, everybody else in the party gets 3 actions, so the party's getting 12 or 15 actions, the boss is only getting 3, and so, I have to give the boss an armor class that is such that the party only hits on a 15 or a 16 or a 17. I don't know that I love that paradigm. It works, math works, but I don't know that it creates the kind of play experience at my table that I want to have. All right. CM East asks, any plans to work with other channels, one-shots or short campaigns with Rules Lawyer, No Nat, how it's played or similar? No, I mean, Rules Lawyer, has been into our chat. We've been into his chat a couple times. We've got some cross-pollination between our Discords. I know that they started talking about a mega game right around the same time we started talking about a mega game. We joked about having like a battle royale between, his Patreon or his Discord and our Discord or stuff like that. But no official plans. No Nat doesn't even know we exist. I went to a stream of his once and, to show my respect and kiss the ring. And I even tipped him and he did not know who I was. It wasn't me. It was Knights of Last Call. And someone in chat was like, "Oh, it's Knights of Last Call," and No Nat was like, "Oh, I guess Knights of Last Call is somebody." Well, hey, Knights of Last Call. So no, has not reached out. I'm not saying he should have, by the way. It's fine. He's busy. He's the king. Okay, here we go. Book of the Dead. Have we talked about that yet? No. And honestly, I don't actually know a ton about it, Denny. I'm hoping part of we do have enough clout that in theory we are supposed to get PDF pre-releases of Paizo. Well, we are supposed to get PDF pre-releases of Paizo products given to us. That's a lot of plosives. And I am hoping that I know that there's a delay because of the shipping things, and Paizo has a thing where they won't ship the PDF if the physical book can't be in stores and stuff like that. So I have no idea what's going on, but honestly, I could use a little bit of a break. I have still not made it entirely through this book. So I am still working on this book. So I just give me namaste. I just need some time. Question: do you think APs are a good choice for a first-time GM? And what a question that is. I think they are good, but I also think it's like training wheels. When you're learning to ride a bike, it is good because the kid would otherwise just probably fall on their ass and never learn to ride a bike and be very discouraged and never get on the bike again. But it is also my understanding that you don't actually need training wheels, that you can take a kid. If a kid is big enough and powerful enough and strong enough to ride a bicycle, they don't need the period of training wheels. In fact, it's my understanding training wheels actually do an opposite job, and they actually make the kids less likely to be able to ride the bike. In fact, the longer the kid is on training wheels, the harder the time they will have in order to learn how to ride the bike without them. And that's kind of how I feel about adventure paths. So I think they are a good thing, but I also think that they are training wheels, and left on too long, they can erode. Hey, Denny, thank you for the super chat. I really love the Ultimate series from PF1. And how would you feel about that series coming back in second edition? Ultimate Campaign had many gems. I love the Ultimate series. I loved Ultimate Intrigue. I loved Ultimate Wilderness. I loved Ultimate Campaign. Ultimate Campaign has a couple systems that I wanted to be better that weren't better, but I loved those books. Those are exactly the type of books that I would love to see more of in Pathfinder 2. Those are exactly it. 100%. What else do we have? Ultimate Combat was okay. That was more of a splat book. Ultimate Intrigue. Ultimate Magic was okay, but I loved Ultimate Intrigue. Ultimate Wilderness I thought was a lot of fun. The abstract hexploration discovery point system in Ultimate Wilderness is one of my favorite variant subsystems that could be added onto a role-playing game system ever. I love that discovery point system for wilderness exploration from Ultimate Wilderness. Love it. Love it. I think it's my favorite. It might be my favorite, like D20 based variant subsystem. Love it. That's so good. Manuel, we are just specifically talking about first edition Pathfinder. Yes, just briefly, but we were talking about the Ultimate series and how I would like to see. Myself and Denny would like to see more of those type of books released for Pathfinder 2nd edition. Ultimate Wilderness I loved it. I thought it was a great book. Gwilder says Ultimate Magic had his favorite spells. Ultimate Magic did have good spells. I just didn't feel like it had as much, it didn't have as much changes to the system. But I mean, again, they were still really good books. William Brett says, do you remember the podcast where Bob accidentally designed 5th edition? I do. Bob was like, well, if we're playing Pathfinder 2, he's like, how would you solve this problem, Bob? And he goes, I don't know. Maybe I would like get rid of adding levels so that everybody had kind of similar attack bonuses, and then like the ACs wouldn't go up as much. And then Aaron's like, but gee, Bob, won't the monsters die really quick? He goes, yeah, well then I guess you could just give them more hit points and then make it. And it's like, oh, Bob, you just designed 5th edition. Congratulations. You're a Wizards of the Coast developer. Listen, I respect that opinion. There are problems with 4th edition. but you're wrong. Sorry, but you're wrong. Yes, I didn't like Essentials as a product line, but they finally figured out their math on it. So, that's good. They did fix it by Monster Manual 3 officially, as you remember correct. In fact, that's like where Sly Flourish, who's kind of, Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master is his book, or The Lazy Dungeon Master, Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, sort of his claim to fame in the 5e space. His original thing was that he created this thing that everybody had called Monster Manual 3 on a business card. And it was basically all the rules to make a completely balanced, by the book monster for 4th edition after they released the updated math in Monster Manual 3, and it literally fit on the back of a business card. And then if you flipped it over, it had information about how to turn it into a soldier, a brute, a lurker, a skirmisher, a controller, or an artillery, along with a little bit of information about minions, bosses, and elites. If you run D&D 4th with half-life, 20% damage to game feels amazing. And that is also a very common fix, and I agree with it completely. You had your first PC kill in PF2 Tuesday. 3 Bargus got him. Well, that's cool. I mean, I hope the person still had a fun time. I mean, just because you die doesn't mean you have to have a bad time. But it is sometimes nice to know that, like, look, the decisions that we are making matter. And, that if we fail or we win or we're victorious, that's not just a given. That our victories are earned. Oh, they pulled a Nick. They just straight up pulled a Nick. All right, well, they learned their lesson, I guess. Jeremy asked, I wonder if PF2 would run better if you only added half character level to everything. And that is exactly what 4th edition did. 4th edition added half of the character level. And so it just gave you a little bit more space and room. I don't know that it would fix all of the quote unquote issues, but I think it would maybe smooth it out. So it's kind of an interesting in between that no level variant from the GMG and the current variant, which is the full level. All right. I think we're almost good. Oh, yeah. Stephen Palmer. You need to stop taking listens from Nick. That's really good. All right. Okay. I'm going to go find Ultimate Wilderness somewhere. I'm sure you can get the PDF probably on free. So, all right. We are all caught up, and it is close to 10 o'clock. So, thank you. It kind of turned into a Q&A, but it wasn't really a Q&A. It was just, we talked. You let me rant. You let me talk. You let me talk to you. You listen. I appreciate you listening. More than ever, I need this community because, that's why we're here. That's why we're here. We're making a little bit of money now. Very transparent about that. Not a lot, a couple $100, but the potential's there. Maybe if we can figure out a way to create some movement and some interest in Pathfinder 2, and we can build this community, grow this community. I am serious. Okay. I'm serious when I say this. Marcos, I'm going to get to your question, Marcos, but I want to say this first. Let me clear this real quick. So there may be situations out there where there are more, but outside of the generic Pathfinder 2 sort of Discord via Reddit or whatever, our Patreon currently is, in my understanding, the second largest Pathfinder 2 Patreon in existence. We have about 4,000 subs, and we have about 120 patrons. NoNet has close to 20,000 subs, and I think he has around 140, 150 patrons. Now, because of the wealth of experience in our Discord, overwhelmingly, our Discord are GMs with 20 and 30 years plus experience, players who are veterans of many, many, many multiples of systems. I totally believe, wholeheartedly, that our Discord is the single greatest concentrated wealth of Pathfinder 2 adjacent gaming design, game mastery, and general game knowledge. And that's just being honest. Like, that's just mathematically, right? And I don't think that's an accident. I think that is because the nature of our community, the nature of these channel, the nature of these conversations that I have with all of you is all based around education, discussion. It's not about soapboxing. It's about agreeing and disagreeing. It's about having conversations. It's about seeing what works and what doesn't work. And all of this has led to a community that is sort of a incubation hub for game design and game ideas. And that is why our Patreon has so many community games running and so many people experimenting with different elements of game design or eager to try. This is not in the last 2 weeks, I think our patron alone has bought like 20 copies of the Burning Wheel system. And why? Because we're interested, we're passionate about game design, about exploring the space of game design, about seeing what there is to be seen, and figuring out ways that we can use that and incorporate that into not just our Pathfinder 2 game, but into all of our games to create a better experience, a more engaging experience, a more thrilling experience, or a more maybe emotionally moving experience. And all that being said, I think that it is a very much a it's a great Discord for newbies who want to, take the game seriously, right? We have some meme channels and we, shoot the shit, but for the most part, it's a very, upper tier tranches of game design. And I think we have the largest concentrated wealth of game design mastery that is collected at least around the Pathfinder 2 system. So I would love to see if we could figure out a way to use that knowledge and experience to try to maybe fix some of these issues with the game and, maybe figure out a way that we can, when I say issues with the game, I think the game works and I'm not complaining about it, but I do think there are things that we could do better. And I think there are themes that are seen across various game masters of saying this could be better or this could at least be different. And instead of getting another book with 4 new classes in it, it's like, I want to see different ways to play the game. And I want to be able to explore different experiences that people are going to have at a game table. And I think you can do that through experimentation and things like we saw in some of those Ultimate books. And I'd love to see something similar like that in Pathfinder 2. And I don't know, maybe this Discord has the chops to do it. Total Entropy had a question. I guess I missed it. Look at Vin being things. Have you thought of homebrewing new subsystems like the Chase Infiltration subsystem? Well, I kind of just talked about that. Yeah, I mean, I think the next step for us as a Patreon, as a community, is dipping our toe into some game design and starting to explore taking all these ideas that we sort of use in our home games that you guys see on the APs and working with our very, very veteran crew to sort of polish them and maybe try to change the face of the game, with our small little crew of 120, Night Nation members, this army that is, has hundreds of years of game master experience. And has a lot of perspective. And again, there was infamously Steven outbid me on a copy of Torchbearer 2nd edition, and somebody else from the Discord was also bidding on it. We estimate that there was a 4th member, right? So these are people who are interested in a variety of different games. Those are the type of people that I want to work with in designing a game. I don't want someone who goes, oh, I've only ever played 5th edition. I only play Pathfinder 2. I mean, that's great. If that works for you, I'm very excited for you, and I'm very happy that you have found something. In fact, you have found something that I have never known. Right? You have found that peace, that contentment in your game that I will never know. I'm always searching for that next higher level, and I'm hopeful that with the wealth of experience I have in this Discord, that maybe we can finally find it. And to that end, I had this plan to release this big survey to the patrons, and I know a lot of you here are patrons, so when we got to 100 people, but we blew past that so quickly, I haven't had time to release this yet. But I do want to release a big survey to our patrons because everybody, whether you're a hero all the way down to our squires, you are the most important people that I want to make sure that our content that we are looking to produce currently and in the future is aligned with what you are expecting out of this channel. And if you want to have a voice and a say, I recommend that you take a look at the Discord. And to do that, you have to join the Patreon. And it's $3 to get in as a squire. $5 will be a night, and that gives you access to all of our bonus content videos, all of our bonus unreleased videos, as well as our monthly exclusive Patreon-only live stream. And then we also have a champion and heroes tier, which gives you additional benefits up and above that. But I think more than anything, I want to make sure that the patrons are happy with what we're producing. So to answer that question about have I ever thought of homebrewing a new system, I think if that is something that the patrons are interested in, then yeah, I think we would. So hopefully I answered your question there. Sorry, I went off and now we're almost close to 10 o'clock. I'm going to try to wrap this up by 10. So there you go, by the way. Frost Raven says, I am working at Mark. Hey, night. Oh, that's good, Mark. Oh, that's good, Mark. Thank you for the tip. Night, bitches. That was pretty good. I'll give you a nod for that pun. We've been very punny lately in the situation. I'll agree with that as a moderator of the Rules Lawyer Discord. That server is about educating new players. KOLC is a banger for getting to that next level. Right. We're serving different audiences here. I think what Rules Lawyer is doing is incredible, and his outreach and work with children is and not just children, but I mean like younger people trying to get into the game. And I think that is a very much a needed niche and aspect. I'm more about the nitty gritty, and I will fully and freely admit that. So I think it's good that his channel exists. And same thing with How It's Played. How It's Played is like the video instruction series that Paizo should have made, and they didn't. So, you know, How It's Played is making it, which I think is also incredible. No, the meme channel is great. I'm not shitting on it. I think it's great. I think you had Marco's question up and then you ended up skipping it. Oh, yeah, I did. In your sessions, sorry. Thank you, Mark. Thank you. In your sessions, in percentage, how much do you prepare with antecedents and how much do you improvise? It depends on the game system. For a game system like Pathfinder 2, I would say it's probably like 50-50. For a game system like Blades in the Dark or Fate, it's probably like 10% prepare, 90%, make it up as we go on. Steven, thank you for the $10 tip. Let's do it. Well, we are definitely going to try. And certainly for our patron members who are champions and heroes, one of the reasons that they are that level is because they, they're very dedicated to the community and they have a lot of great insight and they see the value in it. And I definitely am looking forward to sort of relying on them to sort of be the guiding light. And, and for anybody who is a squire or a knight, it is my job to show you and get to a point where the value for being a champion or being a knight or being a hero is high enough that we earn your, we earn your dollars and we earn your respect and we earn your trust, I guess was what I would say. So thank you, Total Entropy. Appreciate the super chat. That is, I was like, oh, okay, it's Canadian. There we go. Let me fill the bar for you. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate you very much. That is, as they say, is that. Hold on a sec here. What do we got going on here? Oh, what's going on? So, oh, geez, something broke. Okay, sorry. All right. Hey, okay, there we go. Your channel made me remember that sometimes refreshing the basics of D&D and counter dungeon design is just as important role playing. Thank you, Knights. Yeah, and I think one thing that we often talk about here on the channel is that we believe in the game elements just as much as the role playing elements. This is a role playing game. The two things are not separate; they are intrinsically connected. And I think to ignore one at the expense of the other, you do so at your own peril. And more importantly, you are stepping away from what makes role playing games such a unique and interesting hobby that makes them very different than a video game or a board game, or makes them very different than a novel or a TV show or a movie. So I think it's pretty incredible. So Marcos, I think it's about 50-50. I mean, in Pathfinder 2, it's hard to just truly wing it. You need to put some work into making sure the monster stats are down and written, and that you have a good understanding of what the creature can do in combat. If you have combat encounters, But when it comes to like the PCs are going to go do something crazy, well, you know, the GM screen or the Archives of Nethys has like, you know, DCs by level, and you can just make a call about whether you think this is something that is a very hard thing to do or a very easy thing to do, and set a DC appropriately, and just sort of feel that out as you go along. So that's like the 50% that I sort of just wing it, and then the other 50% is like the monster stats and stuff. So, oh, we got a Russian bot in the chat. I thought we had gotten rid of all those people. All right, well. Swing Ripper says for playing physical games, my PC 50-50. And online games are more like 70. Yeah, so okay. Filippo asks, what is the bar for? Well, every week I have a $100 goal for sort of supporting the Knights, you know, keeping the lights on and sort of growing the channel, looking towards getting us to that goal where we can sort of, you know, take the channel more sort of full time. So it is my goal every week to raise $100, and we did. So, you know, it's pretty sweet. You know, obviously $100 a week times $400 a month. You know, there's a couple of us. So it doesn't, you know, go super far, but it is enough to keep us sort of, you know, keep us thirsty, you know, keep us pushing on. And again, the chat and our patrons have been extremely generous, and I would be remiss to not mention them one last time. But yes, needing visual aids in a VTT takes a lot more time. I spend a lot more time preparing for a VTT game than I do a in-paper game. And if it was a Theater of the Mind game, I think I would require even less. Do you write down your house rules for your campaigns? I mean, I usually remember them, or they're very specific to a certain character in a certain instance. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I write them down, or I certainly make sure that people understand them. I mean, there's a difference between a house rule and a ruling. A house rule is more of like, this is something that I fundamentally don't agree with in the system, or there's a unique situation here that we want to express different mechanically, and we kind of think about it and we talk about it and we sort of codify it. That to me is a house rule. If we're playing the game and suddenly somebody does something and the rules don't even remotely come close to covering it, and I just need to make a call, that's like a ruling. And I don't necessarily know that we like treat that with the same level of like codification and rigor that we do a quote unquote house rule. So Total Entropy is curious about how many problems would be solved by playing with proficiency. Yeah. You mean playing without proficiency? Or by playing around with the proficiency numbers? I agree. In fact, one thing that I would love to experiment with in the Pathfinder 2 rule set is creating a 5th tier of proficiency. You would have, so you'd have untrained, trained, expert, master, legendary, mythic. And the mythic would be, you guessed it, plus 10. Number one, that just feels robust. And number two, it's like plus 10 is such a cool number in this game system, because what it means fundamentally is that the difference between like an untrained and a mythic person is 10 points, which is the difference between a crit and a regular hit, or a failure and a success. So they are literally one entire tier of success above the lowest level person. And the reason I want to do that, oh, you know what? Screw you, man. You know, Brutus got it right. It is mythic. Is because it gives you more room to play with the knobs. It bothers me that you, as a barbarian or a champion or a rogue or a monk or a ranger or et cetera, you get to level 13, you get to master proficiency, and you go the next 7 levels of the game, and you never get better with your weapon. I don't like that. I just don't like that. I want to have that aspirational element. I also hate that because of the way of the rule system, you have fighter at legendary. So nobody can get better than that, or can be even equal to that, because that's the fighter's thing. So that means everybody else, barbarians, champions, are stuck at master. But then you don't want someone like the war priest, okay, to be as good of a fighter as the barbarian. So the war priest gets stuck at expert and never gets any better than that, which essentially makes them a non-combatant. If you introduced different levels of proficiency, I think it would give you more room within the system to sort of allow you to have this top tier and then also have these this middle rank to allow classes like the War Priest to get a little better than, let's say, a wizard. Right now, a War Priest ends the game at once you get to level 13, a wizard and a War Priest have the same attack proficiency. And I just think I think that's stupid. I think that's crazy. And I think it's crazy and insane that the barbarians and whoever else don't get better than master. And exactly, Total Entropy. This is the niche that I was talking about earlier about the bard. I agree, the bard should not be as proficient as a barbarian, but it creates an opportunity space for the bard to sort of explore into that. And the last thing, and I know this is kind of controversial, but I think you should get better. And I know that you can use all of your spells and your aid actions and stuff like that, but the fact of the matter is, as your proficiency level goes up and your stats get better and your level goes up, the monster's defenses go up in the exact same lockstep. In fact, at the beginning of the game, when you're fighting an on-level monster, you need a 10 or 11 to hit. And by the time you get to the end of the game, you need, you guessed it, a 10 or 11 to hit. And nothing has changed. I feel like because of the nature of this heroic fantasy game, I kind of want the players, especially as you get into those last couple levels of the game. Come on, man. Like, it doesn't matter anymore. You're only going to be around for 2 or 3 more levels. If at level 17 or something, the barbarian becomes a legendary in their attack roll, and they have a +2 above where they should be, and they are technically better than the math. Who cares? They're going to kick ass. They're going to take names. You can throw a level 27 monster at them. Like, the game is going to be over soon. Game balance is important, but one of the things that you have to counteract for game balance is how long does the game need to be balanced for? An unbalanced game can be very fun. It just can get old. It can get tiresome. But when you're level 17 or 18 and you've come this far through a campaign, which, to be honest with you, most people don't even make it that far anyways, then what the hell, man? Like, if there was a time to let it fly and just let the people, let loose, kick ass. It's like, that's the time. And you're like, but that could break the game. Yeah, it probably would. But you know what? They'd have a lot of fun doing it. And right before it started to get a little lame and stale, your campaign would be over. And everyone would go, wow, that was a hell of a ride. And you start again at level 1. I mean, if casters can hit legendary, why can't the monk? Why can't the barbarian? Why can't whoever? And I also think that things like even the spellcaster, right? They get legendary at level 19. Come on, let me live a little. I'm going to play one session with one level with this, and then the campaign's basically over. Like, the fact that the final ability boosts are at level 20 drives me insane. It drives me crazy. I hate that. And it matters too, because if you're upping your primary stat, right, it starts at 18, it goes to 19 at 5, and then goes to 20 at 10, so you get an actual bonus. It goes to 21 at 15, so you don't get that actual bonus until you're 22, which you get at level 20. You're going to get that horrible. Like, that is not rewinding. Like, that is horrible. Anyways, so yeah, that is something I definitely want to completely remake. You could also use that to fix the alchemist. Why is the alchemist capped in their weapon proficiency? Let him do it. Yeah, the gradual ability boost variant is okay for that purpose as well. There are some smoothing issues that need to be done in Pathfinder 2. So, yes, exactly. And that's because they wanted to keep the combat balanced, because everyone told them in Pathfinder 1, we hate that the players can just come in and just embarrass the monsters, and then the GMs are complaining, saying that our game is horribly designed, and they bought this adventure path and they expected it to be a challenge, and the players kicked ass everything about it. So yeah, at that point, let the party wreck shop. Listen, I'm telling you, like, the stats don't lie. One of the reasons I really like these 1 to 10 APs, I'm not the biggest AP fan. I've said this. I've said numerous times why we are playing Rise of the Rune Lords, but I am not a huge AP fan. But one of the reasons I do like the 1 to 10 APs is because I go, look, the fact of the matter is nowadays, good luck getting a 20 level campaign going together. Good luck. It's just so hard to do. And so at least 1 to 10, you might finish the game. So it's like, if you manage to somehow make it all the way up to those highest levels of play, just let them let loose. Let them kick some ass. Let them have fun, Andrew. Let them have fun. And And giving those capstone abilities at the end of the game is horrible. I want to play with them. I want to chew on them. I want to have fun with them. I mean, think of it this way. If you were playing a 1 through 10 campaign, which studies have shown is what most people play, either deliberately or because the campaign ends. If you're a barbarian or a fighter or a wizard, you get 1 proficiency increase to your DC or your attack roll during the entire campaign. If you went and played Abomination Vaults, if you went and played the new Quest for the Frozen Flame, you are going to get a weapon proficiency increase at level 5. If you're a spellcaster, you get it at level 7, and that's it. That's what you got for the entire game. You got 1 level increase. And then if you were to play another 20 levels, if you were a barbarian, a fighter, you get 1 more. Nah, that doesn't fly with me. I don't like that. Badoom, you kind of agree. You kind of disagree. The core and counterbalance and class finish to accommodate this high power level fantasy. Well, Pathfinder 2 is already a high level power fantasy, so we're already kind of digging into that. Everything about this game is designed to accommodate high level power fantasy. So I don't understand why, why we wouldn't lean into that instead of trying to fix it. I mean, I agree that is what home rules are for. Paragon rules are for. I'm saying, why doesn't Paizo? I don't need Book of the Dead. I don't need Dark Archive. I need different ways to play your game with the 21 classes that I already have, and quite frankly, half of which I will never be playing. All right. It is now past 10 o'clock. All right. I am going to call it there. I've got Pathfinder 2 tomorrow to play. Mossimer, a.k.a. Moss, my level 2 halfling cleric, gutsy halfling cleric of Saren Ray, who has the free archetype druid dedication of the Flame Order, dedicated to bringing back the light and power of the sun, of flame, of warmth to this world that is gripped by an eternal, dark, evil winter. And Jason B, I heard people were trying to have fun in here. Let's shut it down. Thank you, Jason. We love your game, Jason, but there's some things that we want to change with it. So I'm going to say thank you to everybody who tipped. I'm going to say thank you to everybody who super chatted. I'm going to say thank you to everybody subbed. I'm going to say thank you to everybody who participated. Appreciate you joining me here. And, we didn't have the stress and the pressure. Instead, we just had the fun of, just talking, sharing our thoughts, sharing our feelings. And, I think we did a good job. So thank you again. And if you've joined the Discord, if you've joined the Patreon, we'll see you there. I'm sure we're going to be chatting tomorrow as we get ready to play Pathfinder 2. Everybody's got home games going on Fridays and Saturdays. It's a little quiet over the weekend, but, we got some things coming up. And like I said, big survey going to be coming out soon. Going to be asking the patrons, what do you want to see more of? How should we run this thing? We're 100 plus patrons now. We gotta organize ourselves a bit. So, all right, everybody have a fun Friday, whether you are gaming or just hanging out with your friends or family. Stay safe out there. And of course, we will see you next time on Knights of Last Call. Peace.